How y'all doing?
Oh, we're great.
Nice.
Nice and freezing here in Toronto, but we're good. All right, let's get going. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 621, Persona Hot Takes You Can't Handle. What an interesting title. I don't know what to expect from this guy. I was about to watch it. Was it last week or when we were originally going to do it? But I was like, oh, let's hold off, see what's going to happen. So this is from Mr. Bubbletea. This came out 10 days ago, has 54,000 views. So I don't know if it's going to be a bash on people's bad takes or it's actually a good take. I don't know what to expect. We don't know.
Who knows? Matthias said we've covered this guy before, but I don't recognize him. So
Okay.
I don't recognize him either.
Yeah.
And I've been on for a number of Persona videos.
Yeah.
Remember that one that was like that girl's like senior thesis or something?
Really?
And it was like every single bog standard kanji is gay video ever smushed into one.
I remember that. That was pathetic.
Was that also with Naoto is really a girl or really a guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I have covered that recently in my recent video, and when you actually play the game, when you actually pay attention, you do the research, there's no mention of sexuality or sex or sex identity or anything with kanji. The same goes with Naoto. It's just she wanted to be in that society because that's what you have to do to be a good detective. That's she didn't want to be looked down upon. Not because she didn't have this weird trans problem. Like, no, she just wanted to be a guy. So for her job, nothing to do with sex, which is obvious. And then she's really feminine, but she's shy about it. And then beautiful romance blossoms if you allow it. So
it's not that she wanted to be a guy; it's that she thought she had to be in order to
get respect as a detective. Yeah,
I mean, the best counter to Naoto is trans is the fact that at the end of the game she dresses up feminine.
Yeah, she's an attractive.
Yeah, but the trans activists, or rather trans fetishists, I rather say, say that is wrong, that is transphobic, she should have transitioned, which is damn abusive and invalidating her actual identity.
Well, it's the same with that Nightingale guy from Eurogamer. He says, they did a bait and switch with kanji because he has all these gay coded messages, which he doesn't. And at the end, he just says, well, I'm just going to learn what it means to be a man because I still don't know. And it's like, yeah, that was his story all along. Why did you have to argue because his twisted, dark version of his psyche doesn't like girls because they're mean to him? Therefore, the extreme is I like guys now?
Yeah, that's the horrible thing about the rainbow activists and why they did the second Q or the original Q, which meant questioning. Because that leaves open the possibility that someone who's questioning during puberty, mostly.
I thought Q meant queer, not questioning.
Yeah, it does now. It does now. First it meant questioning. Then they had QQ, which was questioning and queer, and then they ditched the questioning and kept the queer because the queer it can be anything. Like just a bad fashion sense, and questioning has the possibility that you could come to the conclusion that your answer could be, I'm not actually gay, I'm not actually trans, it was a mistake, it was a phase, and they don't like that.
Yeah,
they grasp at every straw. Like you have one tiny quirk that could be from very far away, and if you tilt your head and squint your eyes, be interpreted as, that could be a gay stereotype thing or a trans thing. You must be gay, and you must be gay forever, and you must never look at the other sex again.
And that's why they have the coding thing, so that they can play that.
Well, that's the funny thing with 4 is that you could talk about that within the context of the story because kanji has a dark shadow that acts weird. In 5, it's just literally two guys who are flamboyantly gay for comic relief, and people are insulted. It's like that you're insulted by comedy. Okay,
These types of people exist. They're horrible.
and it's not even a big.
You will meet them at rainbow parades. It's
and it's not even part of anyone's story. It just happens to be in the background along the main plot, and it's purely for fun. And if you're playing a game, which I know they haven't, for that long, because Persona games are huge, and you are losing your shit over two gay guys in the background, there's something wrong with you. That happens in all kinds of stories, especially in Japanese games. So to focus on that is nonsensical.
It was considered insulting to the point that they were changed in Royal.
Oh, really?
But it
Their lines were
portrays gay people
completely
as
changed.
predatory.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in Shinjuku, the two NPCs were changed, right?
And in the beach?
They went from being flamboyantly gay to like they went from
Cosplayers
flirting
or
with
something.
Ryuji to they went from flirting with Ryuji to like trying to recruit him as like to acting like talent scouts or something. But
Oh, dear.
I think it was something about cosplay or something. Yeah, something stupid.
Some theater troupe? Oh, jeez. They followed him into Hawaii as well. It's like, okay, sure.
did they change it on the beach too?
They must have. It's too silly. Anyway, that's not why we're here. We're going to find out what this guy has to say. 24-minute video. Shouldn't take too long, unless we keep talking. So we'll find out. Let's go.
I mean, we
On YouTube.com, I am always striving to look for ways to make easy content for more views. How do you do that?
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of different methods, such as starting drama, defamation, etc. But the easiest and most legal way to do it is to have opinions that people don't like. Or maybe they do like. Be as polarizing as possible. No in between.
You mean grifting?
Those things never succeed in the market, and this stands true for Persona games as well.
so like yeah, some people are not going to like your opinion. This always gets me when people do this, when I hear people do this, like, oh, you say this and people don't like your opinion. And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's literally billions of people on the planet.
Yep.
Any opinion you express, someone is going to dislike it.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, he's saying he's playing the algorithm and he's doing clickbait.
Yeah.
I hope he's doing this as a joke, because for fun, because he's just saying, I got to make a video. What do I do? And then he's talking about how to do that and how to get clicks. Like, okay, fair enough. He's not hiding it, at least.
Does anyone recognize the thumbnail that he's showing here?
My love-hate relationship with you, Yaga. No, I don't know, actually. What is
Yeah,
it?
I don't know the video either. I thought maybe someone here knows.
Okay. Yeah, no. Persona 4 is my favorite. I think even the Fez was pretty cool too, but it hits that nice balance of like slow burn but fun and worthwhile, whatever route you take with your characters, and customization is fun enough. I thought Marie was a nice addition. She was as goofy as she was still like, that makes sense. Another Velvet character, Velvet Room character, or Midnight Channel character, if you want to call it that. So it was fun. Compared to 3, which was a long slog, which was tragic and sort of depressing, 4 was fun. It was a fun thing to go through. So you could not max out social links if you wanted to. The voice acting was great, whether it was Japanese or English. It tied stuff in a little neatly at the ending as well. So
I just checked. This is his own video.
yeah, probably.
He references himself. That's funny.
Well, I mean, he's talking about how he made a knot in between. Or
He's talking about how he got backlash for this video that he's showing.
I don't know.
Is
Is
that why he's ranting?
we kind of cut him off, so
Yeah.
I guess we can rewind a bit and hear the full statement.
It's not a big deal because he's just talking about making videos. So anyway,
Yeah.
People only want definites and absolutes. And if you don't agree with me, the authority on all opinions ever, I will rain hellfire upon you! That's right, everyone. It's hot take time. These are some opinions on the Persona series that I think people probably aren't going to like. Regardless of how you feel about them, be sure to leave a comment telling me your thoughts. Not because I actually care, but because I want that sweet algorithm boost. Sorry.
See, this is what I mean. I'm going to express opinions that people aren't going to like. Yeah, and other people are going to like them because there's billions of people on the planet.
Well,
it's
a niche interest. So
I just don't like this whole where people act put upon because they get disagreement when they express an opinion.
Oh yeah.
And then they kind of collectivize the disagreement into, oh, people don't like this. Like, no kidding.
Yeah, no. I remember talking about, for whatever reason, years ago, climate change, and people thought I was a climate change denier. Like, what? No, I just don't understand it all, and I don't understand this or that. And now it's brought up again last week on Twitter. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
No questions. You must not ask questions. Just believe. Accept the things told. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, Smudboy is
don't try to understand it. Just agree.
Smudboy is a climate change denier or whatever. I'm like, I guess I don't know. I just don't have enough information. I can't make a valid opinion. I'm sorry.
Well, remember, we were 20 years too late 20 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we the IPCC
if you
guide.
don't agree, it's just because you don't know anything. It means you are a denier. You must be exterminated.
I like how Al Gore kept changing his deadline.
Now that you brought up, the funniest thing was I think I recently posted a screenshot on Discord. It's like if you Google did the ice caps grow back, the first result is yes, they did.
Every year they do. Every year they melt it, they recede. Yeah.
Also,
it's the first result is not even hidden.
Too.
Isn't that
another thing they were on about?
Sorry.
What was that?
The ozone layer repairing itself, which was another thing they were on about.
Oh yeah, the CFC.
Oh yeah.
Coming back.
The 90s.
That's
yeah.
old news.
I remember that argument. Oh, we have to stop using fluorosols. It's like, you think stop using fluorosols is going to heal the ozone layer? Really? Okay. I mean,
my fluorosol can is doing it all. It's not the companies dumping their shit everywhere.
Well, seems like it
and
was.
China, don't forget China.
Yeah, China and India.
Okay, let's keep going.
We just need to not use plastic straws in Europe, and then the ice caps will grow back.
And you need to eat bugs. We need to eat bugs now.
No bugs.
All right.
The YouTube business works. This kinda goes without saying, but there will be spoilers for the Persona series throughout this video. This is your only warning. First hot take. You ever run into one of those doomer type fans? Man, it's so hard being a fan of this game I like. Not because people harass me for liking it, not because there aren't any fans like me to talk about it with, but because it's not the most popular one.
What?
No, your favorite Persona game is not underrated. Unless your favorite game is Eternal Punishment.
Hey, I liked Eternal Punishment. What's wrong with that?
Eternal Punishment was...
No, he's saying that Eternal Punishment is probably the only one that is truly underrated.
I thought he would have said Innocent Sin, because that's the ooh, how'd you get that? That never came out until 10 years ago or whatever. But yeah, Eternal Punishment is a step up from the first game. It's pretty weird. It's got lots of goth chicks and people running around, and
yeah, and we didn't get the PSP version.
Yeah, I played the original. It was wild and crazy, and everything a Persona game should be. So great, and that was before 3. So before the formula that became popular, it was still pretty wild and fun. So
those fans. In the case of most Persona games, though, they all sold pretty well.
Oh well, let me see that. Let me just.
Selling
Those
pretty
fans
well.
have my condolences.
Selling pretty well doesn't mean that it's not underrated.
Yeah, that's a weird argument. Like, he's making it's sold well, so it's popular and good argument. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Planescape Torment didn't sell very well.
Yeah, like the opposite is true a
Most
lot of
Persona
time too.
games,
Like,
though, they all sold.
didn't Titanfall 2 sell really badly, and everyone loves that game that's actually bought it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Persona, where is it? I can't quite read all that. That's P2 Innocent Sin. Wow, P2 Innocent Sin sold more than Eternal Punishment, but Innocent Sin only came out in Japan.
Innocent Sin came out on the PSP in the US.
Yeah, but
Those are some pretty crap-looking sales numbers for Persona 3.
Yeah, That's true. But but it never came out in the U.S. until like 10 years later, I thought.
How recent
the
is
orig-
this graph? Like, he's not even showing it.
I think the
Like,
original
is this
Persona
like
3
all-time sales?
pretty
Is this
bad,
like
but
release?
I think Fez is the one that kind of saved 3.
Yeah, I would say so.
Is it like the vanilla free that it's showing here?
Must be, yeah.
It might be.
Look, I know.
Yeah, I don't know,
nobody
it's
wants to
like
give
pretty
Persona
vague.
1 a
Is
chance,
it
they
like
just accept the
recent?
opinions of randos online and take advice from them. They just use the manga as a substitute without even really thinking about it, which is
what?
honestly kind of hilarious considering how much the Persona fans just hate reading. But if you look
What?
at the bigger picture,
What?
How can you hate reading playing a Persona game? The whole game is dialogue and narration and the slow slog of every day of talking to people.
Yeah.
My whole issue that I'm
Is
having
this like
here is
supposed
that,
to be some inside joke?
yeah, I don't like. It's impossible to tell what he's being serious about. I don't know if it's just like, I don't know, some ongoing narrative on his channel or something.
Yeah,
but
this
like,
seems to be like he references himself a lot, so I have no idea what he's saying here. Like the reading joke, like I don't know what that's talking about.
Although I will
case
say,
he's trying sarcasm. There is sarcastic inflection that you can train for your voice to use to indicate to people who listen to you, so that they know that you're being sarcastic right now. Having the same dead tone all the time makes people incapable of determining whether you're being serious or sarcastic.
All right.
yeah,
here, I wouldn't Persona 1 is underrated out of all the mainline Persona games in its initial sales. I think the real issue here is that we're way past Persona 1's heyday. That game came out before.
Well, one thing about Persona 1 was it was kind of sold as a Final Fantasy killer.
Well, it was officially an SMT game, right? So they labeled it as that, and then it had
yes, it was.
Yeah, it was Shin Megami Tensei Persona, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So
Something Ibanroku. I can't remember the full title.
oh, okay. Well, it was unique. No one was like what to expect, didn't know what was going on, and it was distinctly Japanese with this gigantic roster of enemies.
Yeah, and selling well in its initial run doesn't preclude it from being underrated in the United States, because I mean, you know.
He's also trying to make the argument that it's dated, which is true, but that doesn't prevent it from being popular. Like, people still talk about Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah,
That game is how old now?
The first release of PlayStation had a few RPGs, Beyond the Beyond, Suikoden. I think Persona came out just right after. So
Also, didn't the original release of Persona 1 have like the localization shenanigans where they like made a character black or something and
right.
they changed the names and
Yeah.
all that?
Who's highlighted right now, actually.
yeah, right
Yes.
there. Yeah. Yeah, they gave
And
an
they
Uzi an
changed-
axe. Yeah.
They changed
cut-
the villain's name to Führer and put
They,
sunglasses on
Yeah,
it.
it was Hitler.
No, that was 2.
Oh, that was 2? Okay.
The villain's translated name, not translated. The localized name is Guido.
Guido.
Yeah, they made him Italian, I think.
Great. That's amazing.
Localization.
And he looks like,
Localization.
he looks like the fucking green guy from the Gorillas.
You know what's great is how localization is still bad like 20 years later. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, and then the Fire Emblem game, right?
In
Did you see that
unrelated
yet?
news, how about Fire Emblem Engage now available on the Nintendo
Oh my
Switch?
God.
Oh boy.
So bad.
I haven't even looked at
So
that
bad.
for fucking
People-
Colgate.
People hate it, and then there's people who
so-
love it. It's amazing the results we get. People talking about that game because they're expecting something from Three Houses, and they get this, and they're like, "What is this? This was."
It's a lot more. It's a lot more of a throwback to the older games. I actually think it has some of the better gameplay in the series. I just got to a pivotal moment in the story, and something very big happened that was so stupid that I'm probably taking at least 2 points off my final score on the story.
Also, is the story itself bad too?
Story's okay. It's pretty standard fare. I think it's good for what it is. I actually like the main character. The design looks goofy, but there's kind of a reason for it in story, and I also like his personality because everyone worships you as a god, and
Giga Chad.
which is kind of like, I mean, that was kind of one of the big criticisms of Fates, was that everyone kind of, basically worshipped Corrin. But in this case, everyone worships you, and the main character is like, okay, guys, let's scale it back here. All right, you're being going a little overboard here. So
Is
I
it
kind of like
better
it.
or worse than Free Houses?
I mean, gameplay wise, I think it's better, but that's because I think Three Houses was just super easy.
Compared to 3 Fates.
Compared to everything, I think
okay.
it was far and away the easiest FE game.
All right. Fair enough.
I've played all of them except for Thracia, and I thought this one was like a joke, or I thought Three Houses was a joke. You should not be able to slap your one character in the middle of the map and have them solo everything. It should not be able to happen. And you cannot do that in Engage. If you try to do that, you will die.
All right, fair enough.
The Hilda meme.
Yeah, it's so.
I mean, I did that in Awakening. I had my Robin so over leveled, no one could hit him.
I mean, yeah, the gameplay in Awakening was pretty lousy too. So
yeah,
I
it's
think this
too
one
easy
is
to get overpowered for one.
Yeah, and you like even now. There is one character I have who is she can almost solo, but she gets hit often enough, and I think the RNG is a little bit less forgiving in this one compared to Three Houses, where you got where I never really ran into problems unless I was on Maddening, which isn't actually difficult, it's just dumb. But
It's just like a
Honestly, I
static.
find that about
It's
a lot
like
of
the modern difficulties, right?
I find that about a lot of the Fire Emblem difficulties that are above hard. I think they're just annoying.
yeah.
Well, it's just modern difficulties in general. Where it's like, oh, the difficulty is everyone has just insanely high stats, and that's the difficulty.
Well, one of the things about
that was always the lazy kind of upping the difficulty.
Yeah, it's
One
the
of the
lazy
things about-
difficulty.
One of the things about the harder difficulties in Fire Emblem is it changed the mechanics. Like, for example, enemies will always attack first.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Well, that's
like,
at least an,
like-
an actual change.
like famously, Lunatic Plus in Awakening is it's not actually difficult, it's just stupid and arbitrary, where they kind of randomly assign skills to the enemies.
And there's a lot of one-hit skills too.
Yeah,
Alrighty, let's get back to Persona.
to the point where you basically have to be a eugenicist to beat the game.
Fetus. Every game had its time in the limelight, and yes, that includes your favorite game. You just weren't there when it happened. But then why are Persona 3 and 4 still popular then? It's likely a generational thing.
No.
A lot of Persona fans are young adults who grew up during the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube era, so
No, they're two completely different games.
Also have gotten re-releases, and Persona 1 and 2 have not really gotten
Like
Western
the thing
re-releases.
with Persona 1 is like that it's famously, as like the first game, it's kind of annoying to play through as a game, especially because like with the routes, they're not very easy to understand how you actually get them.
Yeah,
They're
it's
also they're not easily available either. Like Persona 1 and 2, Innocent Sins on the PSP, Eternal Punishment's on the PlayStation 1, and then
Like P3 has 3 games that people can be exposed to,
Yeah, they make.
so it already has more versions. So it's more well
Including
known.
4 now.
including Steam now. Yeah. Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's You can get Persona 3. You can get it on PS2. You can get it on Steam. You can get it on Vita. You can get it on Xbox.
Can't you get it on PS3 too for the store?
Maybe.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I think you can get FES through the PS2 classics, although it's hard to actually find a good PS3 these days.
Yeah, Fez is the one you should get, though. The Portal one. Portable is pretty bad.
Yeah, and the port of Portable is pretty bad too. Like, they fucked up the sound quality somehow.
And they did the AI, like, fleshing out of the backgrounds, and they
They did
terrible.
the Nocturne thing again, where the port is just really lazy.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Was the port of Nocturne lazy? Is it
Yeah,
not
they
good?
didn't update the audio quality. Like, it's still the old the bad quality of the PS2.
The
It's
HD
also all-
remaster?
It's
Yeah, the
also
HD remaster's not using the quality audio, which is funny as fuck.
it also still has all the compromises of the portable one. So, like, no animated cutscenes,
Right.
no exploration.
Right. The more like the Vita
They
visual
also
novel.
half-assed the thing that they
style.
did with the Persona 4 port, where they had like the where you can adjust the difficulty, you can like adjust the XP value and the money value, and it has like way less options than the Persona 4 one for some reason. Like, it's really weird. They just did the bare minimum.
Hey,
They
at
also
least you can
AI
play as
upscaled the
female-
backgrounds.
At least you can play as the female protagonist.
And you get a
Yeah.
a battle track just for her. It's great.
I mean, wiping
is
all
true.
out is pretty good.
True.
People love the music in Persona. That is a true thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that was the thing. That's the other thing about Persona 1 and 2 is 3 and 4 and 5. 3 is where it kind of developed its own identity as a spin-off. 'Cause
That's
1
what I
and
was going to
2
say.
Yeah, 1 and 2 don't have like the calendar, the social links. They don't really have any of that. So
1 and 2 was still more of an SMT game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's why they dropped the SMT name entirely by the time you got to Persona 4.
Yeah, because it became more different and its own
Yeah.
thing.
yeah, and
Yeah,
Well,
I
my
think
understanding
3
was that
still
that was
released.
entirely marketing. That was a
Yeah.
marketing decision, not a actually like this is SMT.
You mean like adding the SMT name was a marketing decision, or taking it out was a marketing decision?
Adding it was.
Oh, maybe. And I mean, there are connections. Like you still had the
bestiary.
I don't know.
the
My exposure to the older SMT games is a lot more limited.
My understanding of it is it's an alternate timeline based off of the old PlayStation
Eternal
game
Punishment ending, right?
No, not even that. Just before that, there was the ending that a character prevented SMT1 from happening.
Yeah. Oh,
by
I remember that, I
assassinating
think.
Gorman. I can't remember
Yeah,
his
I think
name.
I know what
He's,
you're talking about.
he's one of the Kuzunohas.
Anyway, let's keep going.
Which is my grew up with a PSP or a Vita, so we can come back to those games
Nobody
real
grew up
easily.
with those things.
Hell, I can come back to some Super Nintendo games without much problem.
Like the PSP and Vita, I don't think they sold that well.
Sold like garbage. There's a reason there hasn't been any more Sony handhelds since the Vita. The PSP
Even though
sold
I like
crap.
them, but
Oh, I like
Yeah.
them too, but they didn't sell.
like most people grew up with a DS or a Game Boy, not a
Yeah.
PSP or a Vita.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like the same idea with
Because
the
the
Dreamcast.
Vita was the Vita was in direct competition with the DS, and the DS, like if you look at that generation of consoles, right? It's like the PS3 ended up selling well. The 360 ended up losing ultimately, even though the PS3 started out way behind because it was very famously $599. If anybody remembers that.
Yeah, I remember that.
$599. And then the Wii sold like, I don't know, It like sold double the other two. But then if you look, the DS sold like double what the Wii sold. Like the DS was the big winner of that generation, and they all blew the Vita to Kingdom Come. So, okay, no, that's not true. The Vita outsold in Japan. The Vita outsold the Xbox 360.
Yeah,
Wow.
Xbox isn't popular in Japan at all.
There was 1 week where the Xbox 360 was the top-selling console in Japan, and it was the release week in 2008. It was the week that Lost Odyssey released for the Xbox 360.
Oh, that's a reason to buy an Xbox.
Yeah, and you should do it soon because Lost Odyssey is apparently being delisted from the Xbox Live Store, like at the end of next month or something. So make sure you have it downloaded. Make sure you download the real Final Fantasy 13 before it's gone.
All right.
It is a better Final Fantasy 13 than Final Fantasy 13 was, because it was made by the guy who made Final Fantasy when he founded Mistwalker Studios and made that and Blue Dragon, which is also being delisted from the Xbox Live Store, but I think is available on the DS.
All right.
Problem. For the NES, though, yeah, no, that's a once and done thing. Never doing that again. It's not gonna be like that forever, though. Make no mistake. There are already Persona 5 fans who can't finish or even refuse to play Persona 3 and 4 because PS2 games are too archaic for their standards. We'll be in the same boat as Persona 1 and 2 fans soon enough.
That's just because they're dumb.
Yeah, kids don't like going back to, a lot of people don't like going back to older games because they're not as technologically advanced, and sometimes they don't age well, like Persona 3. Frankly, the gameplay of Persona 3 has not aged well. I like Persona 3. It has not aged well from a gameplay perspective. Now, if you gave me FES, if you gave me FES with like controllable AI, or at least party member AI that wasn't brain dead, probably be more enjoyable. But
yeah, just turn it off. Yeah.
And like the pacing of Persona 3 is abysmal.
Yeah, it's really fucking weird.
All right, here is Kilgris's Hideout. Thank you, sir. I grew up solely on Nintendo stuff and PC. My only exposure to PlayStation was my cousin's house and the demos that used to be at stores like Walmart and Target. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Like when MGS2 came out, they had within it the Zone of the Enders. The Zone of the Enders came out. You got the demo to MGS2. And that was the big wool over your eyes with Kojima, because you got to play a snake in the tanker mission, and then you got the MGS2 game a year later or whatever it was, and no, he's just a side character. So
They also doctored some images so that he'd be in Raiden stages.
yeah, that son of a bitch. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Isn't that like what Naughty Dog did with Joel in The Last of Us 2?
Yes, it is. It's literally exactly what they did.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oh well, demos on PS2 as well as getting in Game Informer and other magazines. Had the CD with them. That was a thing, yeah. So
very famously, you also got the beta of Halo 3 with Crackdown on the Xbox 360.
Well, there was also the Pizza Hut demo discs.
Oh, really?
And that was actually a decision by Reggie Fils-Aimé.
Wow.
And don't forget, you got Doom you got Doom when you bought a box of Chex.
Really?
It was the Chex clone that was...
Chex Quest, yes. Which was Doom. I forget which Doom it was. Like, it was... Some of it was like... I think it was just basically like a reskin of Doom.
It was.
I don't even know if it had new levels. I think it was literally a reskin with levels copied and pasted.
That's funny.
boy howdy, let me tell you, as a kid, I did not understand why the big zappy like satellite dish gun I had kept hurting me whenever I fired it, because I didn't realize it was the Chex Quest equivalent of the rocket launcher. So,
Alright.
That's the thing, though. Most of the early die-hard Persona 1 and 2 fans, who were there when the games were actually popular, are probably a lot older than the Zoomer 1 and 2 fans.
What?
They either stopped caring about
Oh, fucking yeah. No shit.
Yeah, but this is like no one like when you bought a PS game, it was like it's not like the internet where everyone talks about it. You were just playing it, and maybe your brother or sister came by, and that's that. There's no.
or you talked about it at school.
Yeah, like no one talks about it. Maybe
like
one
a lot
guy.
of these.
There was
A
some
lot
early
of these
forums.
like analysis with like old fans and like old games having fan bases, they keep missing that there was no big place like modern internet where you could just like tell people, hey, I like this game. Do you like this game? Like you
Yeah,
just
back in the
talk to
90s,
people IRL.
Back in the
You got your-
90s, only
your
people
one-
who were like really technically adept could actually do that.
Yeah, and as
Yeah.
a console kid, you got your, or even as a PC kid, you got your one game at Christmas for that year, and maybe you got another one for your birthday. So you had 2 games that year.
Yeah.
Then
If
you
you're
went to
lucky.
school and said, hey, I have this game. This game's really good. Do you have it too? Did you play it?
Yeah, or you ask like, oh, you got the other game. Like I got Illusion of Time. You got Terranigma. Oh yeah, we've played through it. Let's what is it? Not trade, but like switch for a while.
Yeah, and on the next day you take the game with you to school, and then you trade with each other, and then you play the other one's game.
Yeah, and then
And,
eventually you give it back because you're all cool
Yeah.
friends.
And of
Or
course,
you have
there were,
sleepovers and
there
you went and
were,
played at their house.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many
actual
times I
socialization.
started. I can't tell you how many times I started Pokemon Blue because it only had one save file, and so I would like play a friend's copy, but I wasn't allowed to save over his save file. So I must have started it like 4 or 5 times until I ended up getting my own copy of Yellow for my birthday one year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there were, you had very, very early, like, forums and message boards and chat rooms and whatnot.
Yeah, getting on the internet in the 90s, that was its own.
Yeah. I mean, how many kids would had that experience? Because, you were probably, if you were in the US, you were probably on, like, America Online on your dial-up modem.
Yeah,
And
every
you can
minute
only do it
costs
for-
you money. Every
Yeah.
minute costs you money, and you try to feverishly look up how do I get Mew? Where's that? Where's the site where that was? Because I
and
didn't
also-
write it down. Damn, I have to look it up again. Every minute costs you money, and the search engine is really slow. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it's great. But looking back, the way video gaming worked in the 90s had I'd say a much stronger social component than all the internet interaction today.
Yeah, that's why they had those booklets that you could put like your CDs into and shit. So they could take them over to people's houses.
Yeah, and on that thing, I would also agree that I never played the Halo games, but I've heard that they removed the split screen in later games, and that is something that you just shouldn't do because that is the big socializing factor of
Yeah,
that
343 remove split screen in their games.
game.
I mean, they
Yeah.
remove a lot of more things too, but this is just free
Yeah.
for free being done.
And they gave some explanation, some like, corporate doublespeak reason for why they did it.
I
Because
posted
you
a-
make the game
and it-
better.
And it's like, just come out right and say we did this so that you'll buy more copies to play online.
Yeah.
I posted a link in the chat to a video of people covering a fan site for Persona that was made in 1997.
Oh yeah, I saw this video. I think this was a really interesting one.
Yeah, the Velvet Room. He did an interview with the person who made it too.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
Their games, or just don't want to interact with little babies who think they're mature because they played Innocent Sin or whatever. I don't know. Then there's the topic of your favorite game receiving a lot of hate. Believe me, I've seen some pretty unhinged hate towards all the games. I've played all of them. Each game has their dedicated audiences, as well as their dedicated haters. Which brings me to my next point. The Persona games that you hate are not overrated. Like, honestly,
I don't know. I would say that Persona 5 is probably overrated.
I agree. Yeah.
In general,
I think it's fair to say that.
I like Persona 5 a lot, but I mean, it is. I don't know if you can really question that it is the most widely, the widest selling and the most highly rated and highly regarded version of the series, and it's generally treated as the peak of the series, I think.
Not even that. Like when
and
it
it's not.
directly came out, like I saw a bunch of people say it's like one of the best games ever. Like I said, it's the best game. It's so good.
The trailer, when it was announced, was like, "Oh my god, this thing's gonna be awesome!" Where it just shows a bunch of people skating around in a city. That's like very, very little gameplay footage. And then we saw the menu systems and some gameplay trailers. Like, oh wow, this looks really slick. They did a good job. And the same reason for buying Final Fantasy VII when it was first showcased with those crazy movie-like trailers, like 200 animators and programmers and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, it's a big production. It has CGI you've never seen before, and that's it. It's all graphic. That's why some of my friends, I'm going to buy a PlayStation and get me some Final Fantasy VII. I was like, really? You never played JRPGs before? Just because of all the advertising and the marketing and how it
graphics have a big pull on the normies, sadly.
Yeah.
Persona 5 was pretty much a phenomenon when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was loved. It was beloved. It had these almost perfect 10 scores across the board, high 9s, and everyone who didn't know Persona was like, wow, this is great. I wonder what all the other games are like. And they tried the others. They're like, whoa.
Joker getting added to Smash, too. I think that brought up a lot of people, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And you know, again, I really like Persona 5. This is not me dumping on Persona 5. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but I think it is overrated because it gets treated like the gold. I mean, in a lot of ways, in a lot of places, it gets treated like the gold standard of JRPGs, and I really don't think it is.
We tend to think of JRPGs now, when we say it off the cuff, as a Persona game because it has dating, it's got the people in high school, it's got the calendar system, it's got all these intricate details and magical systems and turn-based combat and all the things we associate with other styles of JRPG. So that's just, to me, has become the go-to saying of, whoa, it's a JRPG. You think of Fire Emblem, you think of Three Fates or Three Houses. So that's just what is popular. And we use that just to describe it, even though I'm sure there's all kinds of Game Boy games with three houses, or sorry, with Fire Emblem.
What would be your gold standard for JRPG, Axolot?
Oh, goodness. My gold standard for JRPGs, that's tough. You're making me think now.
It's easy.
Persona 4 is up there. I don't know if I would call it I don't know if I would make it my, standard I measure everything else against. Oh, gosh.
Come on.
I feel like this is a really hard one because there's so many different ones.
5 seconds.
It is very hard.
Top your head, right? Go. Now, what is it?
Dragon Quest 8.
Excellent answer. Fantastic game. I would say Chrono Trigger.
8's the one with the guy.
You know what? Wait, am I thinking? Is it 7 or 8?
8's the one with the purple wrap, right? The one where you play as the guy throughout his life.
Maybe.
Which one is it?
Maybe.
I might be thinking. No, I think I'm thinking of 7, where you're riding the princess the whole game.
I'm sure someone in chat will know.
You're literally riding the princess the whole game so that you can turn her into a human and then ride her in a different sense.
Oh, I thought you meant like Dragon Quest V. Then that's where you choose a bride.
Oh, DQ5 is the one where you have kids. No, in whichever one is the one where it starts out with the princess being a horse. That might be 7. I can't remember. It's not Final Fantasy VII. Chrono Trigger is way up there, although I never actually finished Chrono Trigger. I got to like just before the end boss, and then I lost my copy.
Oh.
And it's like you can't find a decently priced copy of the DS version of Chrono Trigger anymore, and it wouldn't have my save file anyway.
And you haven't tried emulating it?
I have. I have a huge backlog of stuff. But it wouldn't be. I don't do any of the obvious picks like Persona 5 or Final Fantasy 7 or I don't know. I'm sure there are other really obvious picks.
Yeah, I always go with that, with Suikoden series, and I was about to say what was that one with the guns? 3 Heroes, Wild Arms, but
Wild Arms is the one with the guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Wild Arms, I do have. I would never download an emulator and ROMs because you don't pirate your games, kids. But let's just say, hypothetically, if I were interested in the possibility of emulating games, I may have lost an emulated file when my old computer died of Wild Arms.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, or it would be if it was something I had done, but I wouldn't do that because you don't pirate your games, kids.
Isn't the Wild Arms creator isn't he like making a new game or 2 new games or something?
On Kickstarter they released it was a duo. Like if you invest in the Kickstarter, they're actually making 2 games from your investment. So that was like last year. I like the idea, but I didn't like what I saw was not impressive enough for me to do so.
Yeah, I've kind of learned my lesson both from personal experience and watching that just because the old creator is kickstarting a new game does not guarantee that it will be a good game. Mighty Number 9.
All right. Anyway, let's keep going.
I don't think calling really saying much of anything. The only vibe I'm getting from it is that you're bothered by other people's enjoyment of it.
I will say I'm pretty bothered by other people's enjoyment of Three Houses of Awakening and Three Houses because it's dictated the way the franchise has gone and it's in a way that I don't like.
He's acting like there's not a valid reason to be upset about people enjoying a certain thing.
Well, this is whether or not he uses the word. I know we paused the video, but whether or not he uses the word, this is an argument against gatekeeping, which I think is a good and positive thing that you should do in everything you're a fan of.
Yes.
Otherwise, what you like will turn to sludge designed to appeal to the masses, like Halo 4.
Or sludge designed to appeal
Skyrim.
to communists.
Yeah, like Dead Space remake and God of War Ragnarok.
Oh dear, let's not bring those up.
Avoid like the plague when I'm being critical of games is calling them overhyped or overrated. The implication of that always seems to be that the praise the game earns is unearned or undeserved.
And sometimes it is.
Yeah, why is he saying that like that's not possible? Of course it's possible.
It's not entirely true.
If I
Overrated can
remember
just mean it's still good, just that it's rated higher than it should be. Or
Yeah,
the other way around.
if I remember, what he's about to say is something like, you can't decide what other people feel about a game.
Okay. Me calling things overrated is not deciding what other people feel about games.
It doesn't even mean that the game is bad. Just overhyped does not mean that.
It's me deciding that other people's feelings might not necessarily reflect
Reality.
Actual standards divorced from their feelings, objective standards you could call them.
Yeah, basically when everyone says the game is a 10 when it's actually more of an 8, which is still great, but it's not a 10. It's not the holy grail. That's basically all it means in a positive interpretation of the word.
Dumb, because neither you nor me decide at what point does a game deserve someone else's respect. I'm not saying the way I critique games is perfect, but when I don't really think a game is all that, I just address the issues that I take with it and explain why I might think other games do it better. I always make it a point that there ain't anything wrong with liking games that I'm critical of. The thing that people in this take and the last take have in common is they both like to act like they're so oppressed, like, people aren't validating my opinion and...
No. Saying something is over or underrated is not acting like you're oppressed. I hate this stupid line where just because you complain about something, it's like, oh, you're trying to be oppressed so bad. It's like, no.
It's also not about other people validating our opinions. It's about the fact that more of these games won't be made because they're not successful.
Yeah, like look at...
They aren't seen as the way to be successful.
Look at Persona 5 Strikers. The issue with Atlas is they never really... Well, we didn't think they would release these games on PC. They eventually do. It just takes them years and years. And Strikers was a different style of gameplay, but they had the same quality of presentation as the Persona 5 games. So you're appeasing fans of PC gaming who want to play Persona or the Persona 5 series, and they get this weird interlude sort of a game, which is nice. It's not amazing, but it's still good. And it's a different style of game, so it's action-based or whatever you want to call those style of...
Some Russo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, fine. Not exactly a Persona game, but still. They enjoy it. They get the characters. They get the storytelling. They get the cutscenes. They get the music. It's like, all right, you're playing a Persona game. Fair enough. And there's like, 6 different kinds of Persona 5 games. There's Q, there's dancing, there's the fighting games. There's a bunch. So you're getting something eventually. And then they came up with 5 like a year later. So it's like, oh, they're doing it now. They understand their market. So that's good. It just took that time, and in between they made something like an appetizer almost, like, here's Persona 5 Strikers. Like, what is that? No one was I was not expecting that. So that was pretty cool.
It's so hard being me. Listen, I've been in both of these camps before. I'm no victim. I'm not expecting people to validate my opinions. I just expect them not to be a dick about it, you know? Anyone who can't agree to disagree with you can get bent! If you want my opinion, the Persona games are all pretty evenly rated. If your concern is that there's too much blind praise over these games and that the fans aren't capable of being critical of, like, anything, that is also wrong. Most people who don't like the...
No, it's not.
Oh, it's really not.
No.
What did he even just say here? He said a bunch of nothing.
He said
It's not wrong, because there's a lot of people who blindly love a lot of the games in the series.
Yeah, like, what you just said isn't even true.
Well, he said the games
and it's like, of course, yes, the fans are not incapable of critical analysis because the fans is like millions of people.
Yeah, but he said the games are all reasonably the same. It's like, okay, the formats are roughly the same. You could argue from 3 to 4 there's a big jump, and 4 to 5 there's a big jump in features and style.
He didn't even say that. He said they're evenly
rated. It's like, no,
yeah,
I don't think
which is
Persona
not true.
5 is the best game of all time or the gold standard for JRPGs. I don't think it is fairly rated. I think it is overrated.
Yeah, and we have features. I remember from the second game, or Eternal Punishment, it was the system where you talk to people that opens up reality. Like, it's the rumor system. I thought that was brilliant, but I didn't know the extent of it because I thought I had choice. I didn't really have choice, but it was the illusion of choice. So I thought if that was a thing, because the whole concept of Persona games is that you are creating a reality through your mind and changing the existing reality. And if you have this rumor system with informants and they're part of certain geographic areas that would open up different areas, like, oh, this is going to be like a Secret of Mana or Legend of Mana concept. But it wasn't that extensive. But it sure felt like it at times because there's so much dialogue and challenge that it gives you the illusion that this world is opening up to you. So,
I mean, that can happen in other games too. Like,
oh yeah,
I remember this game called Twewy. There was the equipment. The world ends with you. The equipment system are clothes, and they all brands. If you wear those brands in battle, the brand gets more popular. It changes the looks of the NPCs in the area and gives you more power if you wear that brand.
Yeah, it's cool. I love that. Little nuances of you doing whatever you want to do during gameplay affecting the world or storytelling or whatever. So these features are not present, like that feature is not, or the rumor system is not present in the rest of the Persona games because the nature of the Persona games is a little different as they go on. Because in Persona 1 and 2, it's kind of like a detective mystery. And in the second game, it is like you have a detective, you have a cop, you have your 2 or 3 high school friends, and it's all about hunting down Joker and what to do about that. Whereas 3 just says, okay, we're gonna go even further with this concept. You're a kid in a dorm, and boom, you're in a high school. You got to live your life, and people loved it. And
you're basically doing secret work for a shadowy organization,
which is trying to protect the people of a town that don't know what's going on because it's so weird.
See, and to what he's saying is in the video here, it's like this is the issue when you speak in such enormous generalities. It's like he said I think they're all pretty evenly rated or pretty fairly rated. It's like by whom?
It's like by the odds, someone's going to be wrong.
Yeah, when you evaluate a Persona game to another Persona game, they're almost totally different from 2 to 3. And then 3 to 4, there's all these extra things. And 4 to 5, there's completely like features and things are just upgraded.
And like, let's say that there's a game that's pretty average, right? Like it's fine. It's okay. It's functional. It's just just an average game, right? And I give it a 1, and somebody else gives it a 10. Okay, so now the average rating is a 5, right? Is that game now fairly rated? Because it has a 5 and it probably deserves a 5? Because it averages out to a 5 between my 1 and somebody else's 10? Is it fairly rated?
Yeah, and that could happen with...
Or is one of us overrating it, one of us underrating it?
And that could happen with 5, because if people wanted a taste of Persona 5, they got Strikers. Oh, this is fun, action-packed, and all of a sudden they download or buy Persona 5 Royal or whatever. And it's like, well, this is turn-based. This is not the same. Why do they make this game? I don't like these games because they're turn-based or whatever. Whatever the case may be, it could be anything. So you could obviously give it a bad mark for that because your experience was bad, as opposed to objectively critiquing a turn-based JRPG in the vein of Persona. Or they could be one of those hardcore SMT fans, and they say, well, this is an SMT. It's not as technical. It's not as this or that. And you're like, okay, all right, fair enough. And
I mean, I think there's a very topical example that everyone probably knows, that Harry Potter game. Like, that game is gonna get completely unfairly rated in both directions because people are rating it based on things that have nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, there's lots of people who are gonna say it's great just because it pisses off people.
Yeah, because it pisses off people, and the other people are gonna say it's shit because it's attached to a person they don't like. Is that fairly rated? I would say no.
What I didn't like was the because you could do this on Steam, you could add tags, and anyone could add tags. And they started adding just random tags.
Yeah, they're adding tags like genocide or something. It's so funny.
Yeah, and it's like,
just added random tags.
That is something that a moderator should clean up because they're
it's been fixed since that happened. But like, let's take that game as an example, right? Let's say it's because, like, to me, actually looking at not the press surrounding it or anything like that. I've looked at the gameplay, right? I've looked at some of the screenshots and some of like the actual stuff that's going to be in the game, and it looks okay.
Yeah, it looks okay.
It looks like a pretty okay
about
RPG, right? It looks all right.
I don't like the specs for it though. Have you seen the specs?
No.
It's like 32 gigs of RAM or whatever the hell it is. It's just like, what the?
32 gigs of RAM? Are you kidding me?
What the fuck?
I mean, like, I have 32 gigs of RAM, but give me a break.
Yeah, well.
Have you seen the requirements for Forspoken? Those are pretty funny
too. It's a bit like Forspoken.
Yeah.
That many gigs around, like.
All right, let's go.
Not talking about the games that they don't hear. Or maybe they already said their piece on it and have moved on. I know not everyone has the benefit of posting their thoughts on YouTube to be there forever and never needing to talk about it again. But
Yes, but most people have the ability to post them on Twitter where they'll be seen forever.
Mm-hmm.
Did he reference himself again?
Yeah, that was one. It looked like one of his own thumbnails. I guess
Is he saying that Persona 2 is mediocre or something?
Probably.
Interesting. And now he's making the video about
hey,
all
no
the
use
opinions
obsessing
are
over
correct.
fans are open to
Very
talking about
interesting.
their personal qualms with these games.
Self-reporting a bit, I would say.
I'm gonna need you to listen real careful here, okay? They just don't agree that it's bad like you. I know, that's a real shock to you. Sometimes
No, it's not.
Okay, they can be wrong. Like, if something is bad and somebody says it's not bad,
Is he
they can
whining?
be wrong. You can tell me, like, if somebody disagrees with my criticisms of something, or if they say I like it anyway, it's like, okay, you can like
But
stuff.
he's doing what I just said. He's self-reporting. This video
Yeah.
is him being angry about people not agreeing with him on these other videos.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it seems to be.
All
That's
right.
the only reason this
Because I don't
exists.
agree with you doesn't mean I'm wrong, but I don't have any good arguments for why I'm not.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it's like, if I say something's bad, if I give reasons why I think something is bad and you don't agree with them, one of us, like, you know, if and they are real things in the game, then, you know, that doesn't you enjoying things despite issues does not mean you're saying that does not make change whether or not something is an issue, right? A wonky hitbox, let's say, which obviously is not going to come up in a turn-based game, but let's use, you know, like, say Dark Souls 2 has like abysmal hitboxes, right? If a wonky hitbox does not detract from whether or not you enjoy Dark Souls 2, okay, fine. And maybe it's a reason that I don't enjoy it, and that's fine too. But you can't sit there and tell me, oh, this hitbox not matching the actual thing that it should be matching is not a problem. Then we have an issue, right? Because either a hitbox in this case is off or it is not.
Yeah, like you
I
have
mean,
to,
also,
can't-
you have to agree it is a problem, but someone would say it's not a big problem for them in their experience. Whereas
also enjoying something because of something that's not there. Sadly, I'm gonna have to bring this back to TLJ, but like how people like the bombers because it reminded them of World War II bomber scenes in movies.
Did anyone actually like that?
Oh yeah.
people actually
I mean,
think
that
that though, I don't think
Defense
so.
for it.
Like
I thought that was just a stupid excuse for why it was made
yeah,
that
like I
way.
did not look at those. And
That
like,
was
I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about is stupid excuses for shit and
Yeah,
interpretations.
but I
that are
know of
dumb.
no one who actually liked it
well, the issue,
and interpreted it that way
yeah, but
before Ryan Johnson or whoever else made that stupid excuse.
yeah, your imagination did not go, oh, these are World War II bombers just by looking at these spaceships. It's like, who did that before Ryan Johnson opened his mouth? Because no one,
Evans.
Yeah.
In,
It was,
in
we
the,
all just thought this is in space. That's stupid.
Did anyone think this with the originals?
In the half in the bag for The Last Jedi, somebody said the bombers didn't make any sense, and Rich Evans said he appreciated them for the World War II homage that they were.
really.
Also,
So yeah, somebody did.
also the fact that the bombers were made out of fucking paper mache.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
what?
Did
The
anyone
Republicans
like do
just
this
being
with the
charged, they got
originals?
the worst fucking equipment ever.
Like did anyone say, "Oh, I liked the fight on Endor because it reminded me of Vietnam or something"? Like I've never heard anyone say this. I've never heard anyone say this.
It
Like
reminded me of
even
Vietnam.
though. Speaking, I think the trees are.
Oh God. Anyway, I want to stop looking at Sora, so let's just keep going.
Okay.
This is like the second time he's used unrelated footage.
Sometimes you just gotta accept that you're in the minority on some things.
Oh my god, dude.
Whether
get on
you're
with
in
it.
favor or not in favor of said thing.
Can we
Just
just-
accept you're in the minority, guys.
let's just
Even
keep
if
going.
you're right,
whether I'm in the
maybe.
minority or majority. I'm right.
Let's just, guys.
And that's the thing is, okay, let's say I'm in the minority of people who think Persona 5 isn't that good of a game. That would mean that it's overrated if the majority think it's incredible and it's not. That would make it overrated.
I just want to sound clip what he just said and then use it whenever somebody woke says anything. Somebody
Anyway, we
just
can
accept
keep
you're a
moving here.
minority.
Let's keep going.
It's been an hour and we're 6 minutes in.
He's still bitching about people's opinions. Like, dude, get over it.
I have.
Yeah, this
Speaking
isn't
of
even a
which,
hot
here's
take about
another thing
Persona.
that
It's
I
a
seem
hot
to
take
be in
about
the
Persona
minority
This
on.
fan.
hot take
I
about
touched
himself.
on it a little bit in my Innocent Sin video 2 years ago, but I think I'd like to elaborate more on it here.
No.
So, spoiler alert, Jun is the Joker. No, not that Joker. This Joker. Now, Joker actually has an interesting backstory. So, little baby Jun and Tatsuya were childhood friends along with the others, right? Long
Okay.
story short, he became evil because he remembered something about their childhood incorrectly and thinks Tatsuya, Lisa, and Ikichi killed Maya. This, in combination with the rumors becoming reality, warped his.
Well, no, he just wasn't purview to information. That's it. He didn't remember it wrong.
So I'm trying to figure out where he's going with this right now.
Yeah, we're waiting for a point.
Yeah, like why is he explaining the plot?
mind. Rumored Joker as a result.
Wait, I want to point out that this point is going to be very hypocritical.
Oh, really?
Oh boy.
That is a backstory. But the moment Jun comes back to his senses and joins your party, all of that just kinda goes away. He doesn't do anything interesting.
Except it doesn't. Like, he's factually wrong on this. It comes up again that June actually feels incredibly fucking bad that he was the Joker and then he hurt a lot of people.
Is this his hot take that June is a boring character?
I
Pretty
guess.
much.
Is that a hot take related to Persona 2? I am
In
not.
other words, you might say he thinks June is overrated.
Well, okay, but in the
Oh no!
in the storyline of Persona
Oh
2,
no.
all the characters are pretty, I wouldn't say flamboyant, but they're very like memorable and what they do and how they
Well, yeah, because Hitler is in it.
But is June like a fan favorite? I don't know.
No,
Because
not at
I'm
all.
not. I'm not.
The
a
Hitler's the
Persona 2
fan favorite. Because everyone remembers.
No, I think
Because everyone remembers that.
I think the character design of a lot, like they're all goth, pretty much. All the memorable characters are goth, so they have lots of makeup, lots of specific color scheme. They're not as flamboyant and memorable as the Persona the other Persona games, but they're very distinct. They have very distinct problems, and how they behave, how they walk, how they talk, that sort of thing. So June, honestly, I don't even remember June. So why would that be? Because he's boring? Sure, maybe. But that doesn't mean it's a bad character, and that doesn't mean it's bad storytelling. So I don't know what the big problem is.
It doesn't even follow any through line. He gives his backstory, says the backstory is good,
Yeah, I could say
and then makes like two arguments and says now he's a boring character.
yeah, I could say Maya is a boring character because she's the main character and doesn't say anything, and that's the point. Like it's like Chrono Trigger. It's like
He's saying that June doesn't do anything after he becomes June, basically.
yeah, well.
Yeah, but you said that isn't even true, right?
It's not true. The fucking main bad guy is wearing his dad's skin. He has to kill his own mom because she's one of the fucking evil people, too. And this is touched upon.
Well, can't remember everything.
The most we see of Jun is in flashbacks and the one or two things he did as Joker. We know what he did before the story, but he doesn't do anything during it.
What?
From my understanding, the main appeal of this character is that you can ship him with Tatsuya. I use the term ship.
I will say that does seem to be what his legacy is, but that's because people are fucking dumb and see a gay character and
That's
go,
because
"Wow, he's
people
gay.
are
That's the most
attached to
important
the
thing
fact
about him."
that people are attached to the fact that the game has a gay option. So this kind of like relegates him to the gay romance remembrance,
I will
which is
I will say that is basically the only thing I know about June is that
yeah.
because again, I've never touched Persona 2. I have no interest in going back to the old Persona games, really. So this is like that's all I know of June. So either way, he is now saying that June is overrated. Yes. Even if he doesn't use the word overrated, that's what he's saying right now.
Yeah,
is that June is boring and is overrated by the fans.
He wants the character to be part of the plot in some mechanical
Even though
fashion.
he is.
Well, that's the thing. Like, there's characters in stories that they're along for the ride, or you're doing the thing for them, but they're not actually the button presser. They're not the door opener. They're just there. And you're the person, because you're the player, pressing the button and opening the door. So is that what he wants? He wants the guy to have some agency because he's a side character? It's like, he's a side character. He's not supposed to have agency. Like, what do you want?
I mean, he's pretty much the main antagonist for most of the game.
Right.
Then he becomes June, and he still has, like, main moments, like the part where you have to fight the Golden Fathers and everything.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's
because everyone in Persona 2 has daddy issues.
Yeah, but to him, what is his reasoning for him being like, I don't like Maya because she's boring. It's like she's not supposed to be exciting. That was never her design. She's a mute protagonist throughout the game. So
she's not mute in instance then.
She okay. I'm talking about Eternal Punishment, but it's like, what do you want a main character to do? What do you want a side character to do? What's your standard, and how do you measure that? And you could say, I don't like, because there's lots of characters in Persona games where you're like, I just don't like them. They don't interest me. This is my best girl, yada, yada. That's fine. But in relation to what? The story, the setting, the other characters, the relation they have to the main character, the relation they have to the villains. What is the standard? So I don't mind people saying, I don't like this character. They're not that interesting. But it's such a vague statement. And you have to validate it somehow outside of, well, he used to be the villain. That's a pretty big piece of the puzzle.
And that's why I say this point is super hypocritical, because he was basically just criticizing people for doing that in the first part of the video.
Yeah, and it's the same with the mystery guy, or the mystery boy. What is his name? I can't remember his main name. And even in Eternal Punishment, it's like, who is the mystery boy? You know, they're always wondering who he could be. I think it was Tatsuya. I think
it was Tatsuya.
Yeah. So, like, that's interesting. Because it's a mystery. You don't know who he is. And then, he was the hero of the previous game or whatever. Or part of the plot of the previous game. Like, how much more standards do you have that something is not interesting? What gets you going? Does he have to, like, kill people? Does he have to, like, save the day every time? Does he have to, like, fly? Like, what do you want him to do? So this is what I see as being a roadblock to people. Like Cloud Strife is so boring because he's so powerful, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, fair. Have you seen this guy called Sephiroth? What he can do?
I mean, the thing about Cloud is that a lot of his characterization got, like, fucking gutted out in, like, the subsequent stuff.
Yeah, I know. And it's supposed to be a linear story where you're not allowed to discover much. You can go back and go to the lab and read about the books, about the backstory of this or that. There's not much to read. So it's like, what do you want? What is your idea of an interesting character who's not a protagonist? This is my problem here, because if they're a villain, okay, you can make the argument the villain should have some backstory and explanation. But he does have that. He does have a backstory. He has a flashback. He has moments. So you just not like that? Do you not like the explanation? Maybe. Okay. But to say it's not there or it's not good because it wasn't fleshed out enough is, unless it's like so unbelievably difficult to comprehend that the explanation they provided is so dumb, then you could say something like, this is silly and boring. This is dull. But if it's there, there's something to chew on. And Persona games are known for their long-winded explanations, and I got sucked into the TV world, or I was a coffin at midnight, and I don't remember this. And the world, like in Persona 2, the world's going to be eliminated unless you stop Famon or whatever that dude's name was.
Nyarlathotep. It's Nyarlathotep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like it's absolute destruction. Like, oh, okay. So it's a bit different. The stakes are way higher in Persona 2 than they are in the other games. The other game is all mist. It's all just a mist. Everyone gets lethargic and doesn't want to live anymore. Anyway.
3 was the last one with like the biggest threat to the world, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Because like death itself, like life ending.
Yeah, I think was that Famon? Did I screw that up? The name?
Philemon, I think you're thinking of.
Yeah.
He's the purveyor of the Velvet Room.
Okay, maybe I got my name screwed up. Anyway.
Yeah, he's the good guy.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, Persona 2 is the game that kind of presents him in more of a gray light because he made a deal with Nyarlathotep.
Oh, and 3 was Nyx, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 is Nyx.
Oh, okay, right.
And then 4 is Izanami.
Yep.
One dialogue choice that decides who Tatsuya likes, and some description text during demon negotiation when you pair the two characters together. For any of my very astute viewers, you may remember I made a video covering Megami Tensei strategy guides. On one of the pages, I showed the guide for Persona 4. There's an interview where Atlas basically confirms that Jun was meant to appeal to girls who like BL.
Okay, so I've actually looked
yeah.
into this. And apparently the guy who said that was not the guy who wrote the game.
That's funny.
Was he the box art guy? What was
I honestly have no idea what he was, but I found out it was not the guy who is like credited with writing the game.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then, unless it was him or the president, I don't care.
Yeah.
I think he might have.
It's just some random intern that gives an interview on the character.
Or like one of the artists or something.
I mean, it's
Like
possible
maybe
he might have been.
if he's the artist and he drew Jun that way, maybe.
Well, no, because the artist was Kaneko.
Okay.
Now, it's possible maybe he was a writer. Maybe he wrote some dialogue. Maybe that's what he's talking about. But other than that, he's not the main writer.
Yeah. All right.
Funny.
People. It's bit that's fine. I'm not trying to say that anything Fujoshi is inherently bad. It just kind of irks me how
I am. Anything for Fujoshi is inherently bad. I'm saying that.
All right.
Anyway.
about how modern point to Persona 2 Innocent Sin as some sort of model to be followed, largely just because of this character. If you took the shipping factor...
Oh, he's overrated.
Yeah, he's talking about shipping. I don't know why, but
Modern Persona fans are overrating the older games.
Really?
Is what you're telling me
I
here.
don't know about that. I don't think that's a topic of.
Well, I mean, it is true that most people know Chun because he's the gay option in the game. That's like what most people know about.
I mean, the thing is, those people aren't people who've probably played Persona 2 either. They just heard of it.
Yeah, like the osmosis of the fandom knows him as the gay option. That's all they know.
It's such a limited series of dialogue. It's like that's not a big deal. It's so limited. I don't know why. It's not Persona 3 where you have a whole arc with these characters and you date them and they talk to you and social link stats and all this stuff. Very different game than what they're thinking. So when he's talking about shipping, it's like, this is not, like, why are we even jumping into that?
Would go nearly as nuts over Jun. So in conclusion, Jun is a very deep and complex character. You want to know what drives me nuts, though?
Oh no,
when
I
people
don't.
complain about how anime modern Persona is, how the games are filled with so much icky fan service and ecchi humor. Newsflash, the old Persona games were like that too. We were just talking about...
Okay, so he just did the thing you like was always bad thing. That was his hot take here, was that the thing you like was always bad.
I mean, I do agree on a whole, but the old Personas reflected anime of the time, and the new Personas
Yeah, I was
reflect
about
the
to make
anime
this
of
argument
that
too.
time.
yeah,
Like a lot of long-running series are exactly like this, where they always just reflect the anime trends of the time. It just so happens like that all the edgy stuff is just what's currently the anime.
And a lot of people don't like a lot of the newer stuff.
and
Also that, yeah.
I actually agree with him getting frustrated at people complaining about that. But my reasoning is not that Persona was always cringe. My reasoning is that people who complain about that are annoying and should go away.
There's a lot of changes
And also that they're hypocrites.
between the games where you could talk, you could seduce, you could bribe, you could all these options in the first game. They cut that down in the third one, I think. Was it the fourth? I don't remember.
The third one
know.
was
I
the
just-
one where they like made all the female social links like mandatory romances when you wanted to do them.
That was
Yeah.
3.
Like that was the annoying thing.
Yeah.
And in Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, like, all the female characters fall in love with fucking Tatsuya.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. Like the story was the focus of the game and the world and what was happening with the murders. So these are different games as soon as you make the jump to 3. So some of these features are present, a lot are not there.
Yeah.
He is literally wish fulfillment for girls. They also make gay stereotype jokes, women can't drive jokes.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
So what? It's a huge game. There's all kinds of characters saying all kinds of different
I
things.
think his point here is that Persona is not.
It was cringe or something.
Persona 1 and 2 were not quote unquote progressive, because this is his response to people complaining that newer Persona games aren't progressive enough, and
Really?
the older ones were. And I think he's saying it wasn't
This is
progressive. And I'm like,
this is
and
a really. Go ahead, X.
my point is, my issue with people who complain that Persona is not progressive enough is that they're complaining about that when that's a good thing.
This is ridiculous because Persona has always been edgy and pushing an envelope. Like in the Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, Mai is a chick with dual wielding pink pistols. Ulala is a goth chick in a dress who's a boxer. Like it's like all kinds of crazy ideas. Like what's the guy, the detective dude? His weapon is marbles. Like it's like it's crazy. It's wild. It's fun. It's cool. It's supposed to be this interesting anime, Japanese, magical, supernatural, murder, mature high school adventure. And you're supposed to enjoy the quirkiness and the weirdness, and it's pretty serious in number 2. There's not that much levity. So if there's a joke in there, it's like it's going to be adult jokes. That's fine.
Just to find this, what I wanted to say is I just find the sequence of events really interesting, where he just said, "Oh, I don't like the Fujoshi stuff. It irks me." But also the only reason people know this character is because he's gay. But also they are actually doing bad gay stereotypes, so it's not progressive. It's like this is a really weird train he's making here. Like
my main character is
he's doing the I don't like the gay stuff actually, and also this is not gay enough. And it's like, wait, what's happening?
yeah, the argument, oh, females are not being represented. Oh, here's a main character who's a female, dual wielding pistols, killing men.
The issue is that they're making jokes about how women can't drive. It's not that they're not being represented. They're making, I don't know.
Yeah, and that they're making gay jokes, and that's bad.
Yeah.
But also he doesn't like gay people, so
If,
like
yeah, if you're a hero with guns and you're killing other guys, I don't think women can't drive jokes are a problem in this story. I think you got other issues to deal, like a murderer going around while you go around murdering other guys.
I mean, another thing isn't like the main like person who drives people around in those games a woman who can actually drive?
Makoto. Yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't matter because they make the jokes, right? So that is enough for him. The jokes mean that it's not progressive.
There's so many jokes
here.
in all the games that are so like fleeting and minor. And this is the same problem with Ed Nightingale. He'll cherry pick this one sentence. I showed it on my video out of a scene where it looks like what's his name? Yosuke says dirty jokes in the midnight hour or the midnight channel when nothing happens, and he calls up Chie, and she would say, "Please stop calling me up. That's like a pervy old man." But the real conversation was about him trying to get Yukiko's phone number, which you would think, this is a guy trying to take advantage of the situation. Da, 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 da. But no, he's fed up because one of their friends, who he's known for at least a year, calls them up at a time where they've already gone into the TV land, where they're fighting supernatural forces with swords and whatever, and they're concerned about dirty jokes. Like, that's not misogyny, you effing retard. That's just friends talking to each other. And you miss the part where he's trying to hit on Yukiko or get her number because they're friends now, and they want to help prevent another murder from occurring. And he's maybe Yosuke's trying to take advantage of that scenario. I don't know. I don't care. He's the comic relief guy who can never get a date. That's his thing. And Yukiko, true to her word, what were you saying? I wasn't. Maybe tofu's on sale tonight. Like she has no idea what's going on because she's avoiding the issue because that's her story.
I mean, Yukiko is basically Komi-san.
Oh yeah, in a sense she is. Yeah. So, and if you don't get that, then you're whining about nothing. You're whining about your ideology not being represented in some weird idealistic way, which it never was supposed to be ever. So Maya, I always bring up, people, no women in gaming. It's like she's the main character. She's a mute protagonist. She wields dual guns and she kills people. Anyway.
As well as...
Oh no!
Persona, as well as all of Megami Tensei, has always been anime inspired. Those were just more akin to what anime was like at the time. Persona 1 and 2 are what anime was back then.
Boy.
Persona now is what anime is today.
Sure.
They didn't become anime.
Well, no, Persona
Always
4 is
was
what
anime.
anime was when it came out in like 2009 or whatever year. Like,
Yeah.
Persona 4 is old.
Yeah,
Persona 4 is not a new game.
It took like 3 or 4 years just to make the game. So we're talking like when 2004 came about, whatever, like after the fiasco that is Neon Genesis and Furikuri and a bunch of other animes that were popular. Like, okay, what happened during that time? No, it's not representing Dragon Ball. It's not representing this or that. It's doing its own thing. And it's basing its success off 3, for at least, if we're talking about 4. So the formula worked, and people knew that the formula worked in 3, even though it didn't sell, according to him, which is fair. Those are the stats. But they kept going. That was the worst out of those those bar graphs he showed us. 3 was the worst. And yet they based an entire series off 3 in its format. So they kept going. Good for them. They knew what they were doing with that. Atlas knows what they're doing, believe it or not. So, bravo.
Just changed alongside it. Anime has always been changing, and so it follows that Persona will follow suit. There will always be a degree of wish fulfillment in Persona, and while not every game may go as hard as Persona 4 levels of wish fulfillment, you can't deny that it's in the other games. It's pretty apparent. Alright, so this next one is gonna be pretty spicy. You should pledge to my Patreon. Okay, that's
whatever.
not really Persona related, but hear me out.
Okay.
I would love to make more in-depth, longer videos.
Okay, we can
Is
skip
she just doing
this.
an ad?
Between several, not in the know-how. In Persona 1 and 2, all characters could change personas. not just your protagonist. There were some limitations to it though. Characters could only take on personas that they are compatible with. This is determined by what arcana the persona is and what arcanas the character is able to use. This is a cool concept. It means the entirety of the game can be focused mostly around a static party of characters. Why bother having more characters than you need when all of them can equip different personas and fill a specific role in your party? A lot of new fans going back to play the old games are fond of this concept and want to see the Persona series return to it. I disagree. Party members should stick to their designated personas.
Why?
Allow me to explain.
What's the big deal? Who cares?
I think, if I remember correctly, his point is that one, it makes the characters more stand out more, and you can make the persona actually reflect them. And the second point is that it makes the protagonist stand out.
I kind of agree with that.
I guess I kind of see that, yeah.
You could
Because
say
like when everyone can like use all the personas, then they're just gonna use like the standard ones, like the ones you're gonna see as enemies. Whereas when everyone has like a designated one, it's gonna have like its own design, and it's gonna be like a special one. Like I guess I kind of get it.
That's also kind of why I think they should have the storyline evolutions like they did in 3.
Yeah, it's
Instead of
basic
department
characterization. It's simplifying gameplay. Fine. That's not a big deal. But you could easily write a story.
Personally, what I think is they should have personas, but you should also be able to equip them with.
Yeah, like I don't understand why can't they just do both? Like everyone has like their designated one, but also they can use the ones that you're fighting.
It's not
That match their arcana.
That's kind of what they did in 2. Each person has a persona that reflects them. For Tatsuya, it was Apollo.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other ones, but they could also switch their persona.
Yeah,
I think that's a good system. That should come back. Why
yeah,
not?
there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with doing the opposite too. So it's like, who cares? Like, whatever the story reasoning for that is fine. I don't care so long as it makes sense. So gameplay can reflect whatever you want.
Also, limiting it so that you can only use the ones that you like synchronize with keeps you from just putting everyone with a persona that will be immune to all damage or something like that.
The problem becomes when you have Persona 3 where you can't control the characters and they keep doing the same thing. So that would really suck if your freaking characters keep casting ice magic when you don't need it.
Well, I guess the assumption would be that it would be in a modern game, right? So you would have control of the party.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the angle here.
All right.
Yeah.
That you'd be retaining control of the full party.
Yeah, the concept of the wild card is arbitrary. It's like, well, Igor says you're the wild card, so you're the wild card. It's like, all right, fine. I guess because I'm special.
Well, that's another thing that they changed, because before it was the Persona game that made people get the personas, and now it's just some weird, like, people inherently can wield them or something.
The gods give you powers now. Now you can do it. It's like, okay, sure. There's at least, so long as there's a story reasoning, I don't really care. This is kind of like characters can only have a certain gun because it's their favorite, or certain equipment.
I think you could do it either way. I can see the argument for not
it could be
allowing
cool
for
if they did it
switching.
in a modern game.
Yeah, I think I can see the argument to not allow for switching because it does give uniqueness to each of the characters. It does,
Yeah.
you know.
Like, I see both points. I think it could be interesting depending on how they do it,
Yeah,
or how they bring it back.
Look at Three Houses. You could turn anyone into almost anything, class-wise.
Yeah, which is part of why Three Houses is so piss easy. Because your entire party can be Wyvern Lords.
I mean, I'd also say it kind of loses the fact that characters before were really unique because of their classes.
Right.
And now they're not.
In Three Houses,
Go ahead.
I was going to say you had predispositions, like certain characters are better at using swords or axes or whatever. So you could do that, or you could turn them into a mage, and you're free to do whatever you want. And that worked with the theme of being in a school to teach kids to do whatever you told them to do.
I mean, I would say there is one thing I like is there is actually like a benefit for turning a person to a class that they might not like typically go to, because sometimes that's like that has a mark or something on it that will give that person a special skill.
Yeah, if you give them, like, if you have Felix work on his reason because he's got all the budding talents. You mean?
The budding talent.
They'll get unique skills they wouldn't otherwise have. Yeah. But again, I think that's part of what makes Three Houses so easy is that you can swap anybody into anything. Like, I did a playthrough where I very deliberately, on hard, not even on normal, and not on maddening, because maddening is stupid. On hard, I deliberately only put people in classes using weapon skills they were bad at, and I still got carried through the entire game by my Wyvern Lords because of how broken that class is, and it just makes the game trivial when you can turn anybody into the broken classes. Like, my game was carried by Hubert being a Wyvern Lord, and he's bad at flying and axes.
It kind of reminds me of the system that Xenoblade 3 has, where everyone, like every party member, can be anything, like any class. So there's kind of a lack of uniqueness, but also kind of not. Like there's like specific story ones, but there's like only 2, I think. Yeah. But like the fact that everyone can like be the OP class or everyone can be the same thing, it's like every time a game does this, it has like the positives and the negatives. It's like obviously you have like all this customization, you can like tailor it how you want it, but then in the process of everyone being able to be everything, you have like less uniqueness, you have like less skills overall because there's so much now. Like I can see both things, and I can see bad things, and I can see how you could enjoy such a system. So
yeah,
it really comes down to how they do it and what the player personally is looking for, is what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
While the old Persona, it suffers from a few flaws that I think holds in the long run. Firstly, it's too flexible. Sure, there are restrictions to what a character can or cannot use, but even then, there's so much variety and cross-compatibility to the point where it barely matters. Part of the fun in RPGs, for me personally, is speccing your party. Whether it be your demon build or selecting the best equipment for the job, it makes you adjust and strategize based on your current circumstances and your character's inherent abilities. A margin of flexibility is available, but those options aren't made immediately available to you and are not immediately apparent. It's left to the player to work things out. Secondly, it puts less value on the protagonist from a gameplay perspective. The only difference between the main character and the rest of the gang in the older games is your stat distribution being objectively better than everyone else's. Vitality and magic are king. In the newer games, the protagonist is able to fill any big or small niche role you need, because you're either building your party around the protagonist setup, or you're building your protagonist based on what the rest of your party doesn't have. If they do revisit the idea of everyone being able to use multiple personas, I think they should approach it in a similar way to the Persona Q games. In those games, every character has a main persona determining their base stats, resistances, and skills, and a sub-persona that augments their arsenal. There's no Arcana restrictions, but it'll be pretty obvious what personas will be good on what characters purely based on whether they're more physical or magic leaning. Of course, in order to prevent a bloated cast of characters where some are just obviously more powerful than the rest, you could limit the main cast to just 5 characters, like the older games. A character's inherent strengths are still a major factor for your strategy, but you're still given a lot of freedom in terms of building off of them.
I mean,
why not just make more characters who have niche skills and create situations where you might need those niche skills, so you have to keep swapping out your party?
Like, he's giving game design advice. It's like, dude, this is not like, sure, design the next best Persona game. Go. Like, I want characters with their own personas that you only get to control 2 at a time. And like, oh, how about all of them at once? What's wrong with that? This is a problem.
I think there's also a happy medium here where you could, I mean, he gives the example of Persona Q where you've got the sub persona, which that could certainly work. But there's also you could also just give ways to have a little more freedom if you want, to have everybody have a unique persona. You can still kind of give more flexibility in the skills. But I can see the argument for why giving everyone access to everything can make the game more more bland and homogenized, because nobody has their own role to fill at that point.
Well, yeah, you can make your tank the healer, or your DPS guy the tank, or you could do all kinds of silly things if you have the freedom to do so. So and Persona is a game where you do micromanage. So you could go either way. It doesn't really matter, and I don't see why he's arguing this, because it's all based off, do you want to have streamlined characters that are nuanced in their own characterization, like they have their own equipment, they have their own weapon, they have their own style of doing their thing, or do you want to customize? I don't know. Ask your fans. Who cares? This is not an issue. This is barely something I argued outside of Persona 3, because Persona 3 is pretty much you 20% of the time, while the rest of the game is enemies and your team doing whatever they want. So, what do you want? Do you want a game where you just play as yourself, or do you want a game where you have full control? Find a happy medium. I don't care. Fine. I've never heard these arguments, though. I've never heard you should have full control. Everyone should be a wild card. It's like, no, we're fine. We're fine with the format. It's good.
Off of that, just don't make certain personas too powerful, like in the Q games. But again,
Why
I'd
not?
rather they just...
Wait, that's the whole point of making personas, is to make them more powerful. What's wrong with making Lucifer?
I mean, yeah.
There should be an ultimate persona.
Is working towards that one persona that's immune to everything and has an attack that fucking kills everything.
Yeah, it's great.
I mean, that's that's basically the same logic as saying don't make legendary Pokemon.
Some people want to min-max themselves into being gods, so shut up.
People like that style of gameplay. We can go back to the 4 styles of gamer there are, but this is getting too meta. He's talking about things that aren't arguments in the Persona sphere. I've never heard these before.
Yeah. Although admittedly I don't dig into I don't interact with I try to stay away from fan bases as much as it's within my power to do so. So
yeah,
admittedly I'm not necessarily super up on how
but
how common any of these discussions
this
are.
is not in contention, so I don't know why he thinks this is an issue. It's like, dude, the format works, it's selling well, everyone likes the wild card concept or whatever. Outside of 3's AI,
people talk about this that much, about the old system returning. I've seen it maybe a few times, but I've never saw it as this big discussion point.
Yeah, I know. Weird.
And he thinks it's a hot take, I guess.
Stronger throughout the game. Re-releases. They should stop doing that. That is my biggest hope for Persona 6 above all else. I first got into Persona...
Personally, what I think they should stop doing is making the re-release a full game.
Yeah,
make
I
it
agree.
DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, please stop with the re-release.
If not,
it's really bad.
DLC, at least DLC for owners.
Yeah, have
the
the option.
DLC expansion. That's what it should be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when
buy the
Royal
full game
came out,
again.
I was really annoyed. It's I have to buy another $60 game, even though it's the same thing with just some added elements and more story towards the end. Why can't it be an expansion DLC or something?
And with it being DLC, I really think they should have an option to just start the DLC.
Yes, I don't want to play the entire game again just to see a few new scenes. Please let me play the new thing.
Maybe the argument is because now they're on the PC platform now, they're going to be releasing on all platforms, the next Persona game, and they're not going to have to do that. Maybe it'd be a $20 upgrade. Who knows? Like they have to make some money.
Like by now, especially because
I mean,
of
they
like
could
the
have done
PC
that with Persona
releases.
5, but they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, now they have even less of an excuse not to do that, because now they release on PC too. So
Yeah, they have to adapt to the mobile market, or at least the wireless, or whatever you call digital download
I mean,
market.
it's kind of the same thing as like the Pokemon games are still doing. Like the modern games have no reason to still make 2 versions and sell them at full price.
Oh yeah.
Never had a reason to make 2 versions and sell them at full price instead, except for money.
Also true.
Unless like the argument is somehow made that
It was
They
to
couldn't
facilitate
fit all the-
trading, wasn't it?
yeah.
I think that was the point. Like initially, it was like, oh, so that you can trade the game, but like nowadays, there's absolutely no argument for it.
Yeah. Well, there
Especially
is.
when it's like
because-
$120 to get both versions.
Yeah, it's
like,
because
what?
you can get people to buy both. That's why.
And they do buy both, and it's sad. Especially because the new games are not even that good.
And Fates did the same thing with fucking Birthright, Conquest, and what was the fucking other one? Revelations.
Yeah.
Oh really? Jeez.
Yeah, I'm
And
really
3
not a fan
houses
of the
somehow
2
managed to
version
fit
concept
3
anymore.
routes on 4 routes into 1 cartridge.
Even if
Okay.
one of those routes is just the third route again.
Yeah, 3.5 routes.
3.5 routes, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire
Since
Emblem,
since
3.5
Crimson
houses.
Flower barely counts as a route.
Funny thing
It's
is,
like
Fates
4 chapters long.
Fates even has it where you have the dialogue options to choose the other games option, but it tells you can't do that because you didn't get the game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Original Persona 5 was still pretty new, but I actually chose not to play it. Why? My first Persona game was Persona 3 FES. As I looked deeper into the series, I noticed Persona 4 also had an extended version called Persona 4 Golden. I immediately saw a pattern and knew that Atlus would eventually do something similar with Persona 5. So instead of playing Persona 5 right out of the gate, I decided to just wait for Persona 5 Royal. I'm sure
And
I'm
you
not
got
the
a
only
worse
person
version
who
of the
caught
same
on to
game.
this. It's because
Yes.
of this that I didn't experience Persona 5 until 3 years after its initial release. I didn't want to buy the same game twice, especially if they both ended up being on the same console. Don't get me wrong, the additions they added in Persona 5 Royal are great. It was totally worth waiting for. But the problem with these re-releases is that they devalue the original game. Royal was worth it for me largely because I never played the original. Most people who played the original
What?
will say the original is not worth going back to after playing Royal.
Oh, I'd
when
say the
Persona 6
opposite.
gets some grand announcement for its release, I
I mean,
I'd
he's
say-
basically saying what I said. You don't want to play the same game twice, just to play some new content.
If they had like New
Yeah,
Game
so-
Plus, maybe that might work.
I guess I kind of
5 is a funny example, and I think like Axe, you probably wanted to say something like this because of like the localization changes. So now
Yeah.
5, the original is actually worth going back to because you get the actual content.
and 5
to the
honestly
changes.
the some of the changes, not just in the localization, but
Gameplay.
the actual changes made to 5 to Royal kind of feel like a reaction to the fans, like the really upscaled emphasis on Akechi in the late game really feels to me,
Yeah.
and maybe it's not, but it really feels to me like it was in reaction to him ending up such a popular character.
I'd say so. Yeah, they would.
They also made like the gameplay stuff also made the game like even easier than it already was. Like the
Yeah.
ammo refilling like after the battles now.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And like the trades and stuff.
Personally, I kind of think the ammo refill was a good change because I didn't really use the gun very much in Persona 5
but,
because
like,
ammo was so fucking
kinda
rare.
wanna agree with this, but like the way that it is in Royal, it just means that the guns are now really OP. Because you can just spam guns now, because you're just gonna get the ammo back.
Yeah, and I think the main characters that you would play in 5 were was Yusuke, because he has that all the melee attacks essentially. So you don't want to use your magic points.
And Ryuji had like the AoE
Yeah,
physical attacks.
yeah. So you want a healer.
Ryuji got God Hand, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing about the older SMT games and the titles where you do actually have a gun and your sword, like in Persona 5, you didn't typically have to manage your ammo.
No, you didn't. And it was crazy because in P1,
At most, I think in SMT4, you could get different bullets to do different things, but you weren't limited. You just equipped it.
Yeah, I remember playing the first game, and was it Nate or Michael? Is it the preppy student council president dude with the?
It's Nate.
Nate, yeah, he has a sniper rifle, and when you shoot that thing, it hits everything on the screen, and it was so funny. Every time I saw that animation, he pulls the trigger, boom, one guy gets hit, one guy. And this is a grid, right? So it's like people are just getting randomly hit with his one shot. And you have to wait for the bullet to go through every single enemy. It takes like 10 seconds. You're like, oh, this is ridiculous. So
Well, they do have that in Persona 5. You have like On's submachine gun. It hits all the enemies.
Yeah, but it's random what it hits.
Yeah. Haru would probably be a better example. Her grenade launcher hits everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's always been kind of in the series. Like in SMT4, you could equip spears, knives, and swords, and they all did different things.
Shouldn't feel knowing that they're just gonna release a better version of the game in 2 or 3 years. And for anyone who played the original, they're basically gonna have to play through most of the same game all over again just to experience a few more hours of new content. That's kinda whack. I know enhanced versions of games have been a thing for a while, but at this point in time, it feels like such an archaic way to repackage and sell the same thing to your audience again. Say what you will about Kingdom Hearts 3, but at least that series was nice enough to finally drop the final mix trend and just provide patches to fix everything.
I'm sorry,
And
what?
instead of
No.
releasing a whole new-
How many
They
times
make
did
a
Kingdom
mobile
Hearts
game?
3 get re-released?
Didn't they literally like when it came out or like sometime after? Didn't
Wasn't
they
it
like
just-
literally make like a canon mobile game or something?
That's kind of old. That's the Chi.
Or it's an old one?
Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, but
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts 3 did the Remind, but that was DLC.
Yeah, but then wasn't there like another re-release, like, or was it just where they packaged it together with everything else?
there's a whole bunch.
I think it was where they packaged it together. I don't
Okay.
think it was actually like.
Because I remember there was like Kingdom Hearts, whatever it was, that had everything
Yeah, deluxe.
except for
Oh, the
Kingdom Hearts 3.
collection thing, yeah.
Where, well, it didn't have everything because it had 2 of the games as movies, but
That was
Um,
before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out.
yeah, and then they released Kingdom Hearts 3, and then I think, yeah, it might have just been that they released Kingdom Hearts, the story so far, or whatever it was, where it was everything.
Yeah,
So that
it
might
was
not have been
basically the story. It was the story so far, and it was 2.8. It was some like between thing where you played as Aqua.
Yeah, because it was like it was one. It was the collection where it was 1 through 2.5, or whatever it was, whatever the game was, and then it was 2.8, and then there was everything including 2.8, and then 3, and then there was everything including 3, I think. So I guess it never got an enhanced re-release. It just got multiple repackaging.
Yeah, in that
Yeah,
case, I think I
basically,
agree with
that's
him.
it.
I think he's right. Like this trend should stop.
Yeah,
It should just be DLC.
now that it's become digital, you don't have to keep re-releasing a game on disc. So
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I do actually. I agree with this.
But in
I
that
don't know,
case,
Witcher-
like to
Is this a
bring it
hot
back
take,
to the...
though?
Yeah, I was about to say, like, is this a hot take? Like, do people?
I don't think it's a hot
want
take.
these
I think
versions?
most people said this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
most
it's a pretty
people
normal
want
take.
it to be DLC. I was under that impression, right? Like who wants the full games released again? I've never heard anyone say this.
Yeah, especially
Or even
games.
like
It's not. It's
what The Witcher 3 did, where it did the next gen update, and that was free.
yeah, that was free. Yeah.
If you were an owner already, yeah.
Like I don't see how this is a hot take. Like everyone has been screaming that they want these versions to stop, and that they want just like an expansion DLC or something.
Yeah.
New game for extra story and cutscenes, they waited about a year and sold it as DLC. I would say this should be the way to go from now on, but given Atlus's terrible track record with DLC, I'd rather not get anything. Okay.
What is Atlus's terrible track record with DLC?
Oh.
I mean, Atlus is a publisher, so
Persona
I guess
5
he's
came out with
talking
like
about how, like,
$100 worth of DLC.
Yeah, they made like a bunch of overpriced DLC. I guess is his point.
oh.
And they did the same thing with dancing too.
Yeah. I mean, he has a point there too. They do spam expensive.
They have
DLC.
really predatory DLC practices with the
Yeah.
Persona games.
So
Okay.
he's right.
I
there.
guess I never noticed because I don't remember even looking at and certainly not buying any
Yeah.
DLC.
I don't know. Do they have manga of Persona? I don't remember reading any.
They do,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, there are manga releases.
Okay, because they've done.
If I remember
has
right, the
one, too.
Persona 4 manga even has Rise being the canon love interest.
Oh, that's based.
not a fan favorite, but yes, understandable.
Is she not?
Why
is she not?
She's the it's like throwing herself at you every time she sees you.
I thought like
I
the
know.
fan favorites was Rise and Naoto. Is it not?
Yeah, I
I
think
thought it
it's
was
both.
Chie.
I don't know.
Okay, never
I
mind.
don't know.
Everyone.
If it's
Nah,
not
I'm
Rise,
not-
though, then I'm going to
I
say that
haven't seen
Rise
much love
is
for Chie.
underrated.
Yes.
One might act insane. Do you remember the antagonists of late aren't the worst by any means?
Oh, Strega,
but I
yes.
think we need to shake things up again. I think they should make another Strega.
What are you talking about?
I know.
What is this?
He wants Persona user villains. That's basically it.
I guess, but we already have that. So what's the problem? We have dark versions of like it's the same
Like a Catchy or a
Yeah, like
Dachi
Akechi just happened, so like.
or what's
Yeah,
his face
Dachi.
from Persona 5 Royal.
I guess he just wants
So
like
does he
more
just
of
want like a
them?
group of users? I guess.
I guess the seed from 3 was
a dark reflection of the main cast.
yeah,
like
something like
Akechi.
that. Yeah. Which
Yeah, like a Catchy or a Dachi.
which you have when you like 1.4, everything had to go through your own dark shadow self, and that was story based. So I guess.
I mean, if anything, if he wants something like that again, I think they should just make it like an entire game. Like,
yeah, but this is
like
this
have,
is the argument.
have every villain be that.
This is the argument. It's like, oh well, they should have a game where in the story the villains are just like the good guys. You're like, why? Like that's
Well, the thing about Persona 3 was the main cast wants to end the Dark Hour. Strega's like, but during the Dark Hour we get cool powers.
yeah,
How
exactly.
would you do that?
We're cool guys. We like blowing shit up, and we have powers. You're like, okay, that's
And also, I look like naked Jesus.
like this is not even a hot take. This is his own preference. Going, I like Strega. They are cool. I wish we had this in Persona 6. It's like, okay, like
Like,
I mean,
the
Strega's
thing is,
generally
like,
not liked because they're not very characterized well, and their boss fights are really easy.
they're lame. Honestly, they're not
I
that.
guess in this sense, is it even like a hot take again? Because like
This is
he's not saying he wants the characters to return. He just wants like the idea of
Yeah,
the Strega to
it's-
return.
it's like I want a
Is that
mini
even a hot
boss.
take?
I want a mini boss style encounter that I guess has the same.
I
powers.
want more boss fights that have Persona users.
Apparently Shin Megami Tensei 5 had some, according to Mango in the chat, had some quests that were cut out and resold as DLC on day one. Which, yeah, that's pretty predatory DLC practice. But I don't know.
Well,
if,
yeah, they're selling like previous demons with like mini
They
quests.
did the same thing with Soul Hackers too.
But I don't
Why?
think day one DLC and I want a complete game is really like a hot take.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
where's
Yeah.
the hot take here? It's like,
Yeah, but you
I
could
think
do-
everyone agrees that it's bad.
You could do. I could have argued. Well, we need a little sister scenario in the next hero because I really liked it in Persona 4. It's like what? Like why? Like that's not. It's not an argument. It's just a preference. I like little sisters that greet me when I come home and make me dinner. It's like okay, sure. Why? Like, why can't they just tell whatever story they want with whatever antagonist they want in whatever style they want? Like, unless you have a legitimate argument, like the gameplay is very specific, you're characterizing villains, but that happens anyway. Every game characterizes villains their own unique fashion. That's why we like Persona games. The villains are so believable, or fleshed out at least. I don't know about the gods. The gods are who knows what they're doing.
What you're thinking? Strega? Those guys were so underwhelming. Why would you want them to try that again? Takaya and Jin were definitely...
Again, here's something I don't like about the straw man he's arguing against. Just because something is being done again doesn't mean it needs to be done badly.
He went from gameplay, now he's talking about villains or conflict. It's like, this is so silly. I don't get it.
character development. Especially Jin, it's basically non-existent. What I think they did get right with Strega is that they were a good antithesis to the main cast. They posed existential and philosophical questions on the main cast, while Strega didn't pose a...
And all the villains in the series did that.
Yeah, like the
Like, all of the
existential
villains do that.
question is, but what if this dark hour thing is good? What if we were like you, but a dark reflection? You know, like
But that happens.
most of the human
What
antagonists.
if we all should die?
What this
and yelled at both, and what's his face, the new guy from Royal. They're basically order dash control versus the freedom of the Phantom Thieves.
Well,
Yeah.
this happens throughout the story or the stories in general. I'm trying to remember who's the comic relief of 3. I can't remember the guy who's like your buddy.
Junpei.
Junpei.
Yeah. I'm like Vic. What's his name?
No.
Yeah.
No, but
I can't remember the character's name.
right. But with Junpei, he's like his life has more meaning now that he's fighting in this supernatural world. He's like, what am I going to do after this? And that's a common theme throughout the stories of all the games, I believe. Like they feel powerful, they feel better. Even with Kanji in 4, he's like, I feel like I can help the community now that I have these powers. I want to make it more peaceful. Like this is a common theme. So when the powers go away or when the villains are defeated, they're like, what do we do? That's
Yeah, like most of the games like use the plot to lead up to what the characters actually want to do with their lives after.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, in the Persona 3 animated version, they actually have the protagonist go through that too, where the Dark Hour is really all he had. He had no friends before; he was alone.
Yeah, and in the answer for 3 with Fez, they wanted to keep it going so they could see him again. They could see their buddy again, and you know, just they miss him. Like this is very common, especially in 3, because the whole freaking story is about why are you alive and what are you doing. So, story beats, dude. You want story beats. You want characters that represent opposition. You want good villains.
Yeah. Like that's basically what he's saying here is he wants dark reflections of the human character of the main characters. It's like that's what all the villains are in all of them.
Yeah.
You got other Stregas. It's the bad guys.
I like, does he really just want like the number? Like, is that the argument? It has to be
Yeah,
like
there got to be
certain
3
number?
Akechis and 2
It has
Dark
three
Note.
Adachis and 3 Akechis. It's like, okay.
I want a detective who's bad, who turns bad when you least expect it. It's a twist. Oh, we had that in 5. Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't know if Akechi turning bad was a twist,
Well,
but
I mean, everyone expected it, to be honest.
yeah. I think the only real twist to it was that was I
pancake
think the
thing.
actual twist was that you knew it was coming. Like the
Yeah.
characters knew ahead of time that he was going to betray them. Although, I mean, I figured it out right away. Even like I'm like, oh, because I tried to go in blind to Persona 5, but I figured it out like when he mentioned Morgana talking about pancakes. I'm like, oh, he can hear them. He's a villain. he's been in the metaverse already. He's the bad guy because he heard Morgana talking. Spoilers for a game that's like 7 years old, by the way, chat.
They're not even
Spoilers,
trying
but
to
that's
hide
how
it
they
with
figure it
Royal,
out too.
because like in
Yeah, I
his
know.
Royal
I know that's how they
art portion of the
figured it. I
game-
know that's how the characters in story figure it out, but like I figured it out when it happened in the story, not like
Yeah, the
there was no
pancake thing.
there like the day it happened immediately, not later on when they found out there was a traitor.
All right.
Like I figured it out in the scene when he said, "I thought I heard someone talking about delicious pancakes." I'm like, "Oh, wait, that was Morgana. He can hear them. He's the bad guy."
It's not hidden at all.
Direct the world, they welcomed the destruction of it. What if we did that again, but flesh out the antagonists more, like the way they did with Chidori? Give them a bit
Like what they did with Adachi.
Yeah, I guess his argument seems to be he wants a group.
He just wants them back, yeah.
He wants multiple groups that are like the Persona uses. And
Yeah, he wants
flesh
them to
out,
bring
like-
back. He wants
That's
them
what
to bring back a villain organization who are like, what if using our personas? What if this whole thing that gives us our personas is actually good, and we should keep it that way? You know,
I
like
guess it's not that he wants a nega character, he wants a nega party.
yeah, it's like you know, like Adachi who wants.
Like we said just now, he wants free Adachi, so like free Akechis running around.
Yeah, this
It's like,
is
What if Adachi was 4 different people that were also
Yeah,
probably
what if
your
Adachi was
classmates?
4 different people?
yeah. Pick any game you really like and you're a fan, and make your ultimate game list. Go make your list. What do you want? Your next Halo game. Go like who cares? Like whatever. It's not hard. These are not hot takes. This is a wish list.
more presence, throw them out more, and make them more challenging to fight. Please. And to be extra clear, what I am not asking for is another ragtag group of one-off villains like Innocent Sin's Masked Circle. I know I've been pointing my finger at this game a lot, but I swear, it is just a breeding ground for Twitter user and Redditor ideas that I just don't think will fix Persona. This next one is pretty important because I know it applies to me as well. I know a lot of fans love their Persona YouTubers. They make good content and offer their own
Okay.
personal perspectives on the games they play. But you should not look to them as authorities on, like,
Oh, like you?
What?
This is his big hot take. Is I guess
My hot take is
His-
don't watch other YouTubers. Only
his
watch
hot
me.
take. His hot take is don't treat YouTubers' opinions as authoritative. Is that a hot take? I actually agree with that. Don't treat YouTubers' opinions as authoritative, and he did say it applies to him too.
Yeah, I mean that's
So
fair.
it's like, okay, fine.
but it's not a hot take. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, it's like basic life advice. Is it a hot
Anything.
take? I don't know.
I know a lot of people like to use YouTube reviews as a means to get a good grasp on whether they should buy a game or not.
What if the YouTubers
Money
are
is-
overrated?
I mean, that's what they're for, are they not?
Ultimately,
You
yeah.
would think so.
Yeah, it comes down to whether this guy's opinion swayed you to say, I should check this game out.
And I mean, again,
Value.
I don't think it's necessarily bad if someone sways your opinion, if they have good arguments to sway them with.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say the gameplay, the storytelling, the music is all great, and
I
even
mean,
if
a YouTuber's opinion got me to buy Deep Rock Galactic, and boy, that was $25 well spent, or whatever I paid for it. I don't remember how much I bought it on sale, but
yeah,
I mean, but I went back to that review later on after I'd played it for a while. I'm like, yeah, I don't agree with everything he's saying here. It's like, okay, don't treat him as authoritative. That's not really. I don't know if this counts as a hot take because Yeah, okay. Don't.
lukewarm takes.
Yeah.
It also doesn't just apply to the Persona YouTubers, so.
All right.
On things you really want, you know? However, I think people give us internet personalities too much credit. Like, come on now.
I mean,
He
yeah,
kinda has a
that-
point, yeah.
Yeah.
that's the point. But the thing
think
is,
that's-
I don't think it's a lot of people. I think it's mostly just kids and loud people.
Yeah.
Well, it's the parasocial relationship thing, so that only applies to specific people, anyways.
Oh boy, there's a 2 GB patch to The Witcher today. Anyway.
Are you playing Witch in the background?
No, I'm looking at my list of Steam games and deciding what I'm going to play after the stream. Probably a randomized Elden Ring.
All right.
Just for the heck of
Don't
it.
wait on the advice of anonymous strangers on the internet. Especially when it comes to what games you should spend your money on.
Wait, why
This
not?
is a
Why not? Let's wait for everyone's opinion. It doesn't
And
matter
again,
how popular.
it's the point of reviews.
Yeah, that's what a review is for.
I don't rush out day one to buy a game. I go, wait, let's see what the reviews say. Let's see what Skill Up says first. Let's see what IGN says and compare the two.
Skill Up was
That's a
actually...
good
Point, but it's twofold. It's like don't let your opinion be that much influence that you buy the game, but the opposite too. Like, look at both things. Like, look at the people that tell you to buy it, and look at the people that tell you to don't buy it.
And
Then
another thing
compare the
is,
two and make your opinion.
reviewers aren't random people. Most people aren't looking up random reviewers. They're looking at reviewers that they like, that they know kind of what their tastes are.
Right.
Yeah, the anonymous thing that he keeps mentioning is a bit weird. Like, I don't know why he has to tag that on, that you don't know who the person is in real life. That's kind of irrelevant to what they're saying.
I think Skill Up was the YouTuber who got me to buy Deep Rock Galactic, now that you mention it.
He's the Australian guy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
this is just generic information, nothing to do with the hot take, so let's just keep
Yeah,
going.
this is not a hot take.
Yeah, this is not hot take again.
social ship thing. YouTube man is just a guy on your screen giving his opinions. If you want
Okay, but that is what a review is. So I agree, don't have parasocial relationships with people. That's like I'm of the opinion there's no such thing as an internet friend. But yeah, that's not the same thing as trusting reviewers whose
The same thing applies
whose-
to articles too, though. Like, it's not exclusive to YouTubers.
I mean, another thing is
Or some person on Discord. Anything,
Shit,
really.
I honestly just forgot what I was going to say. Fuck.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
this topic is kind of silly. We should just keep going.
True.
a genuine recommendation on the game, you should probably leave that to a close friend who knows.
I just remembered what I was going to say. Okay. Not all reviewers are just giving their opinions. Some reviewers actually do try to be objective in what they hold their values on.
Well, you could tell that by the knowledge that, or the words they use, if it's esoteric to like the Persona series. Like, this guy's clearly very knowledgeable. It's just his takes and ideas are not very mature. They sound like my first game was Persona 3. It's like, okay, fair, that's fine. And then he went back and played the others grudgingly, I guess, and had some weird specific takes on the Innocent Sin game, because that's the super niche one. That's hard to buy, hard to find. But he did it anyway because he knows Persona. He loves Persona. He knows all about Persona. Doesn't mean his understanding of Persona or storytelling in general or JRPGs in that era is going to be very knowledgeable, especially if your first game is Persona 3. So it's the same with the Shin Megami Tensei guys. They're very specific on their tastes. It's very different than a Persona game.
The only video where I ever urge people to play a game was my Devil Survivor video, and that was more because of the 3DS eShop closing than anything else. Most of my videos aren't even really about whether I would recommend a game to you, or whether they're worth playing.
Okay.
Most of you watching these videos are adults. You can decide for yourself what video games you should or shouldn't play.
Okay, but how am I going to do that without information, which I would get from things like reviews by YouTubers or, YouTubers are about the only place that is worth going for a review, because where else are you going to go? A games journalist?
Well, ultimately, you're gonna watch a bunch of videos. You're gonna read a bunch of reviews. You're gonna say, okay, this guy doesn't like it because of X, Y, Z. This other guy likes it because of X, Y, Z. What do I do? And you base it off the trust or your belief in the one guy who has positive takes. Now, some people do the opposite.
I would say you hope for the review to be descriptive enough to where you kind of know whether or not it's up your alley or not.
Yeah, because there's nuances to every game that they will glance over, like say with Andromeda. Oh, the dialogue wasn't very good, or the animation's not very good, but it's still a fun game to play. And you're like, you look at the memes, you're like, wait a second, is that like a little thing or a big thing? It's like, no, this is a huge thing. The game is not finished, and the people who just like the game because the gameplay is like, it's fun. Because a lot of people play games for the gameplay, believe it or not. But certain games like Persona is not just about gameplay. It's about the journey. It's about the friends. It's about talking. It's a 50-hour game at least, if you're being conservative. It's tough to get through these games. You have to put them down. It's go back to work. Maybe give it another few days to get back to your game, because these games take a while to play. So, and then you might forget what you did 3 days ago. So it's an investment for these kinds of games. But that's what you want. You want a big, honking, juicy piece of storytelling with gameplay and characterization and challenge. So you get a lot out of your $60. I think it's $70 nowadays if you buy a game. So yeah, this is not a small decision. You want as much information as possible. Even the bad reviews, even the IGN and Kotaku. Just to see what they say, because I'm sure they're going to have some bad takes that are it's not feminine. There's not enough females talking about other females or whatever their scale is these days.
I said I didn't like it. I hate when people do that. If it's someone with a somewhat sizable following, then that's probably the mindset a lot of them are going to have. Now, I don't personally blame people who have less than favorable opinions on games for deterring people from playing them, nor do I personally take responsibility for anyone who looks at one of my videos and decides, well, I guess this game is doo-doo.
Well, take responsibility for your arguments then. Make good ones.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm also of the opinion that a YouTuber is not responsible for his audience and what his audience does. And so I don't think it's up to him. I don't think he needs to own people people doing or not doing things as a reaction to what he says. But you need to own what you say.
Like if there's one person watching his video, like they only watch him, they have no idea. Like the Persona 2 video, like they watch the video and they're like, the game is mediocre, and then they're not gonna play it and not gonna buy it.
I mean, why make a constructive argument / review of something if your goal isn't to make people agree with you, or at least get your opinion out there?
Like there should be reviews like his, and there should be others too. And then you watch all of them, and then you make your argument. Then you see if you want to play it or not. But you need to own when you say that the game is bad, not say, I hope that people are still gonna check out the game maybe.
All right.
You play it, you have every reason to be skeptical of what I say. If it sounds too good to be true or too awful to be real, then that's all the more reason for you to form your own opinion.
Okay, but why are you wording things in such a way that it's too good to be true or too awful to be real?
And that's another thing about arguments. Use evidence to support them, and then people won't feel that way.
This is a really weird argument that he's saying it that way, because like you'd assume he actually has something to back it up. But like if like all his arguments are like the Chun one, where he says something that's not even true with the story, then it just kind of falls apart a bit.
Anyway.
Said, The reason I even care about this so much is because it genuinely kind of pisses me off when people jump onto the bandwagon of relentlessly shitting on something when they didn't even play the game, or when people will shift their attitude on a game that they were pretty neutral on before just because they watched a negative video. Understand that.
Well, maybe that negative video had good arguments and it changed their mind.
What if that negative video pointed something out that they didn't notice before?
That's another thing. What if you just didn't notice that thing and then someone pointed it out and you couldn't not notice it after?
Maybe he's talking about like the donkey crowd who just goes along with whatever jokes he makes, and therefore a bad game or therefore a good game. Oh no, he wasn't joking.
Of course there'll always be those people, but those people aren't going to change by saying don't do that.
Okay. This is such a silly part of the video.
People like me are just trying to share their opinions and not trying to how to think. That's never been the point of any of my videos, which is why I'm kind of reluctant to really call my stuff reviews, but I stick with it due to a lack of a better term. I'm not here to recommend anything or scientifically quantify the quality of something, just share my experiences.
This is just my opinion, guys. Okay? Don't go kill anyone because I said so. Like, what the hell?
This is basically the subjectivism argument.
Nonsense. Come on, dude. Get over it.
Now this last one is probably the most important one on the list, which is why I saved it for last. If you're a fan of Persona, it's okay not to like SMT. So, as we know, Persona is only one...
Is this a hot take?
This is like, what does this have to do with anything? This one game, which is tangentially related, you never heard of before, you could like it or you could not. Like, who cares?
I mean, I will say, like, I do see the odd, like, the real hardcore SMT fans.
Sure, but
say, like, you know, like they'll be like, go play a real Persona game. Go play a real SMT game.
Yeah, but this is like, you know, I really like Final Fantasy VII, but I don't like Final Fantasy VI. It's like,
and how much of that
can be true, too? Like, you can like SMT and not like Persona? Like, why is he only saying one of them?
And how much of that is actually people genuinely saying that, and how much is it like sort of like the Get Good meme with the Dark Souls community where people don't actually mean that in like a negative way?
Yeah,
this is silly.
Well, like, is this even a hot take? Like, how is this a hot take?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
One branch of the entire Megami Tensei franchise. With a franchise this expansive, consisting of many different series, both long and short, it makes sense that some people would be more partial towards some games than others. We're all guilty of it. I will always encourage fans of Persona to try out the other games that Megami Tensei has to offer. Despite how different the games are from each other, they do share a...
Wait. Just a few minutes ago he said he doesn't make his videos to recommend the games. Now he's saying he always urges people to play the games. He contradicted himself.
I mean, maybe he meant more like command people to play the games and instead of recommend. I don't know, man.
Hey
maybe
guys,
he just chose the wrong word.
Fellas, I got this game. You don't have to play it.
Like the video, this wasn't very well thought out.
Yeah, this game I'm talking about, you don't have to play it, but I really would recommend it, but not really. It's kind of fun. You might not like it. Don't take my word for it. Maybe try it before you buy it. I don't know how that makes sense, but hey, you can check it out. Maybe buy it. Maybe don't buy it. Maybe rent it. Maybe steal it. Wait, stealing's bad. I don't reckon. Like, he's just going to keep talking over himself about whatever bullshit opinion he has, but don't take it too seriously, guys. Jesus. Can you imagine, like, giving him, like, having him give flowers to someone? I'm giving you some flowers, not because I like you, because I thought you liked flowers. I like flowers, but you don't have to like them. They're pretty to me. You could like, it's like, dude, are you giving me something or not?
And again, this kind of goes back to own your arguments and what you say.
Yeah,
Yes.
own your opinions. Like,
This is so wishy-washy. This is not hard.
I mean, you hold your opinions because you think they're right. Right?
Even then, even if there's purely subjective, you're just thinking about your own ego and your own interests. Say that. Say, I really love Persona 4. It's my favorite. It's got these characters. It's positive. It's also bleak at times, but it makes you feel good. It's fun. It's funny. It's well voice acted. It has a great ending, yada, yada. Yeah, I like it. It's my favorite. It's so good. Give me reasons. Okay, here's my reason. Like, that's fine. This is strange. Like, does he want to have like some weird mathematical formula where it has to be perfect to him, but someone like blows a hole in it and he's like, oh, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't have said that. Therefore, don't take my opinion.
Like, I don't even understand why he was so fixated on saying he doesn't even want to call his videos a review. Like, he has this weird view of what a review is. Like, is a review to him something that like compels people to buy something or not to buy something? Like, what does that even mean?
Do you think describing your opinion, you know, the what is in a game and your opinion on it and what you think is good and what you think is bad, do you think that's not a review because you don't call it one?
And also,
it's so weird.
Why do you think it's so bad to change people's minds on things?
Like, usually when you have an essay, you're making an argument. You have a point, you have a series of pieces of evidence, and then you have a conclusion. Or are you just going to say, this cherry Coke tastes like cherries? Do you like cherries? I don't know.
People's minds usually change because they listen to you and they agree with you.
Yeah, this is not hard.
Why is that bad?
This is normal.
Yes, it's normal.
Hey, Jeff, what do you think about that movie? I hated it. Oh, I guess I won't go see it. Yeah, you shouldn't. It sucks. All right. Hey, Mary, what do you think of that movie? Oh, it's amazing. You should go see it. Oh, why? Because I like the characters. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Great. Why is that so difficult to accept?
Well, but it's not a review, Smud. I didn't review the movie.
I didn't give it a 7.693%. Yeah, it has to be exactly accurate to whatever ratings has to be subjectively made up. But don't argue with me, guys. Does he have like a thin skin, or is he just like doesn't care? I don't get it.
A lot of DNA enjoyable in their own regard. Fair shot and didn't enjoy it, that's fine. There seems to be this common assumption that if someone likes Persona but not SMT, they either didn't play it or they're just mad because bad. A similar assumption is...
Okay, common by whom?
They're mad because it's bad?
He's doing that collectivizing thing again, where he's referring to some nebulous opinion or group of people or whatever, and it's like none of this means anything.
He's also using a really weird argument here where he says if someone tried SMT and they didn't like it or something, what does that even mean? Like, even with Persona, what do you mean you tried it? Which one? All of them are different. Like, you're gonna have like a different take if you try like the first SMT, or if you're gonna play like, I don't know, SMT4 or something. Like, they're not
or
comparable.
Devil Survivor or Soul Hackers or Strange Journey or Demi Kids or so I don't know.
I just find like this point weird that you could try SMT, whatever that means, and then say, oh, that's not for me. Yeah. It's like, okay, have you looked through all of the different ones? Like what is the assumption here that he plays SMT1, doesn't like it, and then he doesn't like SMT? Is that the argument?
This is so silly.
Like, they're not comparable in any way. They're very different games, each one.
We got 2-3 minutes left. All right.
Assumption is sometimes made with people who like the newer Persona.
Wow, what an amazing use of the passive voice. A similar assumption is sometimes made. Talk about a meaningless statement.
Other people say this, like, thanks, we get it.
Just an absolutely astounding use of passive voice right there, pal.
This is like when you write an essay and you use all the adjectives in each sentence just because it sounds good. Dude.
Also, I'd like to point out how ridiculous this is. Other people say some things that are wrong. So I need to make a video about it.
But my video is not a
No,
review.
not
guys.
other people say things. Other things that are wrong are said. Remember, passive voice. Because if you only use the passive voice, you don't actually have to substantiate what you're saying.
Usually, I associate people who like reading, or who
And you
like,
don't actually have to have any conviction for it either.
well, people who play games like Persona, like there's lots of reading involved, so you get understanding of English or Japanese or whatever language you read in, and you get a feel for the characters and the narrator and all that stuff, and you get a vibe. He's just like, I feel thing. I'm going to describe word with more words. We describe ID with more words. It's not helping.
Games, older ones. No, I'm pretty sure it's just not for them. If they say SMT's bad, they're obviously wrong.
What? Why?
I mean,
Why
how
are they
can
obviously wrong?
How can he say that with things that he said before?
He could say they're wrong because I like the game, but not obviously wrong. They're just obviously wrong, guys. Why? The game sold. People bought it. They made 4 more later after
How
that.
can you make this argument with anything he said previously? How can you just say, "Oh, if you say it's bad, then you're wrong"?
They're obviously.
Like, how
I'm
can
a
you do that?
I'm a super fan of Persona. If you don't like
Obviously wrong.
SMT,
You could counter this argument just by cutting out that segment where he says that you have no right to say whether or not a game has someone else's respect.
Well, yeah.
Or just substitute it with disrespect instead of respect.
Guys, you're missing the important thing. It's not a review. It's not a review, so it doesn't matter what he says.
Again, this is a really common problem I've seen with people who are trying to do the subjective thing is they will hold
contradict
objective standards.
themselves constantly.
okay, this is really going nowhere. These last 2 minutes are going to kill me.
But I can't hold it against them for not enjoying it. Persona's a series about taking your time, day by day, and appreciating the presence of the people in your life. SMT is about how people suck and will ultimately be the cause of their own doom. Same goes for the opposite. If you're a die-hard SMT fan and you just can't get into Persona, that's understandable. You don't want to read 1 million dialogue boxes worth of text in the course of 80 hours. That's not your ideal experience, I get it.
I mean, the
Is he
SMT games can be
saying-
really wordy too, so
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's not their problem.
Is he trying to admit that SMT has bad story? Is he self-reporting?
Uh,
What is
I
this
would just say
argument?
the
Oh, they
Persona
just
stories
don't
and
want
that-
to read.
The problem with SMT stories and Persona stories, they don't have the same story. That's it. They don't have.
Yeah.
They focus on different things.
Like, it's such a
So-
weird argument. It's like, oh, the SMT people, they don't want to read.
Persona has like a lot more focus on character-centric stories, and SMT is more about bigger plot lines that focus on a bigger setting.
I feel like he's
Like, I never understood this argument anyways, where he says, oh, that there's not a lot to read. It's like people keep making like these, like, obviously it's a generalization, but like the argument people make where they say it's fine if an SMT story is bad. Like, I never understood why people make that excuse. Like, the SMT story doesn't have to be bad. It can have a good story. A strange journey exists. So, like, why does it have to be a mandatory bad story just because it's an SMT game?
yeah. I feel like he's like comparing like Tennessee and Kentucky whiskey. It's like, dude,
Yeah, it's like this argument is like, oh, they don't want to read. It's like, what?
this apple is not as green as the Granny Smith apple. It's what? No, they're apples. Like, what are you talking about?
Enjoys both, I realize that not every subset of Megami Tensei is for everyone. On one hand, it's a little strange how when it comes to series like Pokemon, while not all fans of the mainline games are fans of the spin-offs, the spin-off fans are probably fans of the mainline games. But the same can't be said of Megami Tensei.
Because all the games are different. Because they're all so different. The Pokemon games are very similar. There's barely anything different. There's just new Pokemon added. With the SMT games, it's literally every single one is different than the one that came previously. So like,
And again, like I said, a lot of them have different storytelling styles.
yeah.
Different themes,
Yeah.
different characters, different plots.
Like again, compare Strange Journey to like what SMT5. It's like these are two completely different games.
Compare Persona 3 and Persona 4.
Yeah. Like, it's so weird to generalize either series, because I would never make the argument to say, oh, the series is not for you. It's like, try each one. You might like one at least, because they're all different.
Okay, this is... Oh, anyway, 2 minutes.
It's part of the reason why I think Soul Hackers 2 was made the way it was. It was likely an attempt to find
what are you
a
doing?
sweet spot between
What
the
are
two.
you changing topics?
However, I think I realized the reason.
I don't
Why
even
is he
know what
talking
that
about
point
Soul Hackers?
was.
So, guys, this other
Yeah,
game
what-
called Soul Hackers? Yeah, it's like this. It's like, what? What are you talking about?
What does that even? What did he even just say? It's like, oh, this is why Soul Hackers was made the way it was. What does that even mean? It was made the way it was. What are
thing
you
is-
talking about?
Soul Hackers 2 is a sequel to a game that was a sequel to another game. Because it's part of the fucking... What was it? What was the
Digital
series?
Devil Saga?
No, that's not it. That's the one for the PS2 that was like with the weird apocalypse world. Devil Summoner. It's Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, isn't
Oh,
it?
okay. I thought it was Nocturne. I could be wrong.
No, Nocturne is the third one.
Oh, okay.
In Devil Summoner 1, you played as a random guy who got put into one of the Kuzunoha's bodies. And then Soul Hackers was a sequel to that. And he does show up in that game again. But yeah, Soul Hackers 2 has nothing to do with that game before, and a lot of people are really mad about it being made that way. It's not because it's like Persona, it's because it's not like the game that it came before.
Okay. Well, again, he's jumping. I don't know what he's trying to get at.
Unlike other series, there is in Megaten anymore. Persona is just
Yeah, there
too
is.
big-
It's called Shin Megami Tensei 5 and 4
Yeah,
and 3 and 2 and 1.
And all SMT was a way for Atlas to make Megami Tensei their own thing. Like, instead of taking from the Digital Devil books, they wanted SMT to kind of be its own universe that was theirs, and not the guy who did the books.
And they were really good at pumping out games, not just for that series, but like they would came up with like several games a year back in the day. And I'm glad they haven't really changed their ways per se, but they've done more higher quality games now that their budgets are bigger, so they can do like Persona 5 and who knows what next.
I mean, they also did the Etrian Odyssey, I think, right?
I don't. Their library is pretty big. I was trying to remember the other games. They're big games. Like, they don't fool around. It takes a while to make these things, but they can pump them out fairly quickly. And they're not low quality. They have voice acting. They got cutscenes.
Well, they also published, because they published Demon Souls, I think.
Yeah. So Devil Summoner Survivor 2. Plus they make like animations. They do anime. What was I'm trying to remember that game. It's hard to pronounce. Obviously, we saw Soul Hackers on the screen there. What the hell is it's that turn-based strategy one that's got devils in it as well.
The one he was talking about before.
Oh, Disgaea, I think it's called.
Oh, they do make that. I forgot about that, actually.
Like, those are big, juicy, long games, and comedy is a focus. So they have games which are not serious. They have fun games for kids too.
I mean, they also had that hack and slash game on the PlayStation. I don't think they've made another one of it though.
Yeah, but they clearly know what sells, so they're going to talk about Soul Hackers. They're going to talk about Persona. So it's fine. Good for them.
To be considered just a spin-off. There are two dominant sects of Megaten now, Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. No other sub-series of Megami Tensei even comes close to having as many games as the big two. Although most Megami Tensei spin-offs
Okay, but SMT is still the main line. like, yeah, it's the main series.
I mean, all SMT was a retelling of Megaten, but I mean, even in like
Why
the
is he even phrasing it this way? It's like it just hit me. It's like he said the 2 sects, and then he listed like all the spin-offs. Like, why would the spin-offs like be like? What is he trying to say? Like, there's no big fan bases for the spin-offs. Like, what even is this point?
I don't know.
What is he trying to say with this?
I-
Like, obviously, there's gonna be Persona and SMT.
it's like he's trying to separate the series further.
Yeah, but
And
like,
try to
why
make
is he
it like
splitting
their
the
own.
spin-offs?
Yeah.
Like, people love Strange Journey. They love Devil Summer now. They love Digital Devil Saga. It's like, why are you separating that from SMT? Just because it's a spin-off? Like, I'm confused what he's trying to say.
All right.
Take for SMT than Persona. The only important thing, though, is that we acknowledge that these two things can coexist with each other.
What?
They thrive off each other and add way more personality to the monster collecting genre. So there's no real
Well,
reason to.
Honestly, one of them could exist without the other, to be completely honest.
This never crosses my mind. Oh, I'm so glad we have both games. Like, oh, it just makes everything better. Like, I guess I don't know. What do I care? Like, why would I consider? I'm glad we have Super Mario.
They don't really feed off of each other either. I don't know what he's.
Like, if they were different series, I don't think it would matter much.
Yeah, like do
Like,
we
what is the point?
like do we need like another flavor of like Dragon's Crown or something? Like, ooh, we need
Like-
another.
Like there
Like, I
are
mean,
people
I guess
who
it's
try.
cool that you can have Jack Frost in both series or
I
something. Like,
guess.
There are people
I
who do
guess.
try to like unify the timelines of all the games. Like
yeah, that
it's
is a
kind
thing.
of
That's true.
it's a dumb effort, but
Like the only
I
thing
mean,
I remember that's original from Atlas is 13 Sentinels. Like that was to me that was a big deal because like, oh, this is different. It's tech. It feels like an anime. It's a game you play. Like that was like, okay, they're doing something new. Whether it's sold, I don't know, but yeah, it's if you look at their lineup, they do a lot of Persona games, obviously. But there's things I've never heard of before, like Daylight. There's Citizens of Earth.
Well, there's like this one project that they're working on that they barely said anything. This like fantasy RPG or something they're making, like some kind of fantasy story.
Well, they have the
Well,
Gro-
We barely know anything about it.
they also made that one was like a pixelated RPG game on like the on the PS3, Cube Hero, something like that. And it was actually in Persona 4 as one of the dungeons.
Oh, really?
Okay.
I remember
Really?
Growlancer just because of the manga artist. They took his style or I don't know if he drew the artwork, but it's pixelated, it's isometric, it's very similar to how the Persona 2 looks. It's an older game. But yeah, I know there's all kinds of games that Atlas pumps out. So yes, I'm glad they make many kinds and there's many of them. There's multiple flavors of SMT. That's great. But I'm not like, oh, I'm glad there's so many. It's like, do I care? I'm happy with what I have. No, I don't need to play offshoots of that per se. Same, I don't need to play like Persona Arena or any of those other fighting. Like I don't want to. It's not my taste. Good for them. I don't get it. I'm so glad we have Mario Party. I'm so glad we have Mario this and that. It's like, I guess? Is that for another audience? What is the point here?
Reason to feel like they don't belong together. You might not have found anything I've said to be remote.
But who thinks that?
The games don't belong together. You're right. They're independent games. What's your point?
Like, in fact, I think one of the big things that most people say they like about the series is that a lot of the games are so different from each other.
Yeah, even between 3, 4, and 5, they're all unique characters and stories and scenarios. I thought 3 was awesome because it was like, oh, there's an extra hour and that's where magical things happen and everyone turns into a coffin, and you're like, oh, what the hell is that? And then 4 is basically, I swear it's a short story I wrote when I was a kid, where you go into a TV world and you fight facets of the world of the town you're in. Thought that was kind of cool. But the characters are great. Storytelling's great. The voice acting's great. It's completely different than 3, so cool. Anyway.
There's also the possibility you want to rip my head off for something I said. Now that I'm really thinking about it, I don't think...
Okay, but what was the point of saying that? That you could have one of 2 very extreme reactions of what I said.
I feel like he's just filling up space.
It's not a review. It's not a review. Keep that in mind.
It's not a review, guys. I'm just talking about the thing I like in a rambling manner, and ideas that are contrary to my own pop up in my head so I can mention them. It's like, okay.
And after I say it, you'll either agree with me and think that it wasn't such a big deal to say, or you'll disagree with me so bad you want to kill me.
Yeah, but he could be talking about math, like 2 + 2 is 5. You could agree with me, or you could disagree with me. It's up to you. It's really your opinion. I don't really care. It's like, like, okay, yeah. You'd have to say that.
There's been like 3 big points in like the entire video where he had to like backtrack and like give himself excuses on what he's saying, and then make like 2 extreme examples of what could happen because of something he said. He did that at least 3 times.
I don't know who he's appealing to. I'm assuming the fans of SMT berate him in some fashion. He sort of got used to it, so he's being...
I don't even know his
Maybe
channel.
he's
Like, I
talking
don't
about
even know who he is.
I don't know.
He's talking about V specifically.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh,
I just said that as a joke, because V usually has pretty bad gaming opinions.
Oh, yeah.
And they're very vehement about it.
All right, okay.
really that important. I'm not sure why I'm even making this right now.
What?
Hey, he did it.
What?
Actually, no. He said he's not sure why he's making it. That's like one step short of going. I didn't want to make this video.
Let's give this video one compliment. At least it's not another fucking video about Natsu being trans or kanji being gay.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Yeah, I can agree with that.
like it was
The thing is,
surprisingly
these are-
just weird takes.
These are not
Those are
even
all
really
ones.
persona hot takes. These are like hot takes about
Opinion
like
hot
the
takes.
persona fan base.
I don't
They're
even go
not
that
even
far.
hot takes, they're lukewarm takes.
This
Yeah.
is like a 14-year-old talking about anything and being unsure of himself for 20 minutes.
If anything, him calling these hot takes is basically him doing exactly what he complained about people doing with their underrated-overrated games.
And
And
look at
how they're so oppressed.
the I just realized the title. You can't. It's like you capital can't handle. It's like, yes, I can. You're so boring on your opinions.
You can't handle the opinion that the new games shouldn't have new versions but DLC.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's so like unoffensive, and it's just like, dude, can you like draw a line in the sand and like tell us where you stand on these things and why you're making this video, so you don't question yourself at the end, going, why am I doing this?
Chat, I even noticed in the chat too said that the video is pretty boring. It's true.
Honestly, I feel like he should have had someone read through this script, tell him, yeah, this video is not saying anything. You shouldn't make it.
They should have wrapped it up and rolled it up and then smacked him over the head with it. Say, give me something to care about. Make your opinion known and draw your line and make sense of it, because you're just sort of going, well, there's this other series and it's kind of like this, and if you don't like it, that's okay, but maybe you should check it out even though it's not a review. You might like it.
You're not making any real points in this video. Don't make it.
It's so wishy-washy, dude. Like, just come on. Just tell us what you think and feel. Back it up and tell us your overall feeling. Like, just get it over with.
Like, are all his videos like this? Like, is the Persona 2 review like this too? Is he just constantly gonna say,
I
"Oh, this is
honestly
not
have
a
no
review,"
fucking
and,
idea. I don't think I've
maybe you
even
like it?
seen any of them. I don't think I've seen any of them. But
Me
this
neither.
one.
Like, I don't know him. Like, is he just
Yeah.
constantly gonna say that something is not a review and you can like it and maybe it's not for you?
Yeah,
but
this-
maybe you should check it out. Like,
According to his thumbnail, a certain game was mediocre, but that's just his opinion. You shouldn't take it seriously. It's not a review. You should try it for yourself.
maybe you like it, you should try it.
Yeah, but
But
not.
also, maybe it's not for you.
Yeah, go read another review, but not really a review. Just sort of think of it as a friend telling you about something that you might or may not care about. And it's like, dude, what are you like? Come on, focus. Give us something to focus on that we can understand. These are not hot takes. This is just you rambling for 20 minutes about your thing you like.
Point I wanted to get across in this video is, well, cope.
Cope with what? What was the? What is he
All right, I'm
talking
pretty
about?
sure that's basically the end of the video.
And he just has this.
What a
this-
fantastic ending. He just says cope and ends the video.
What are we coping with? What are you? This guy.
I guess the
Cope.
5 people who might have disagreed with what he said might have to cope.
Cope with what? What are the hot takes that someone has to cope with?
I don't know. This guy.
Again, it's like, I'm sure there's someone out there who disagrees with what you said that this could be considered a hot take with, but that's not most people.
Yeah, who's gonna cope from this video? Like,
Yeah.
what?
All right, let me bring up the memes. We got any? Oh, we do. Okay. All right. Starting. Yep. Today. Here we go. Oh, we got Kirby. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. They brought Kirby summoning. What's the name of his persona again? Arsene. Arsene Lupin.
Arsene, yeah.
Arsene.
Arsene.
Triple A Frog commissions open, but look guys, look, it's one of my greatest friends, Yu Narukami from Persona 4. What? Wario is saying this? I don't get it.
I don't understand. But AAA Frog commissions open says you should play YTTD. And I don't actually know what that is.
So here we have a Sonic meets Persona Tartar Zone. Sonic, even you don't stand a chance against my newest creation. I call her Aegis. Okay, fine.
It's Aegis.
Come on, step it
Oh,
up,
Aegis.
senpai. And then and of course he's so edgy. He's about to shoot himself in the head. And then we got a crossover between Sega and Atlas.
Well, yeah, because I mean that's the Persona 3 summon, right?
Yeah, they got to show how edgy
He's
it is.
shooting himself with a gun.
Yeah. Aha. Okay. Personic. Cool.
Personic.
There we go. It's symbolic. Okay. Oh boy, I shoot myself to represent my willingness to face death. Face death. Well, I rip off a mask representing me revealing my true self. Amateurs. What was that, Punk? Amateurs.
Yeah, I read the card.
Yeah, well.
Which is what the old ones did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think my favorite's still Yu Narukami. So whether it's cards or guns, it's fine. It's fine. It's all different. Why did Persona fans think, yeah, let's put Phantom Thief calling cards in front of the White House? That'll show them. What?
Oh yeah, that
There's-
happened.
There's calling cards at the bottom.
Was that during Trump? It wasn't during
Uh-huh.
Biden. I don't think they
Oh
were.
my gosh, you
Yeah,
should have
'cause-
seen
That's
somebody
fine.
wrote out one of the full notes. And it's the most embarrassing thing you've ever seen.
What, they're going to steal his heart or something? Like,
Oh yeah. This was a whole thing that happened in like 2017 or so.
That's funny.
oh, dear.
It was so embarrassing.
Pocket Sand Shaw? I don't understand. Is this a reference to something? I don't know.
It's King of the Hill in Persona 3.
Okay.
Why?
I don't get it, but sure. There's a King of the Hill one. Okay, this one we've seen a few times. Oh no, I'd play the shit out of Persona game starring Hank Hill. Okay, fine.
We've been going so long that I've had time to make a loaf of bread.
You baked a
Like
loaf of bread.
beginning. Yes, I baked a loaf. I mixed the dough. I mixed the batter. I baked the loaf, and the loaf has finished cooling enough for me to take it out of the pan. That's how long we've been going.
It's pretty handy of you, sir.
I made a whole loaf of banana bread while we were doing the cast tonight.
Time for an execution, and then we got some Persona, which is a star.
Get that Carabia.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't fit in the guillotine.
He's like, wee. Oh no, it's
Kawakami.
yeah. I don't want to read that. No, I meant like doing your homework or something. And he just takes his clothes off. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm surprised that the SJWs didn't jump on that for.
Oh, they did.
Oh, they did? Really?
First things that happened when the game came out for PC recently was somebody made a mod to rewrite all of the adult social links so that it doesn't end in romance.
What? That's boring. Good lord.
Yeah.
All right, here is Jack Frost getting scared of noir. Why is it that I get a shiver of excitement whenever the shadows plead for their lives?
Oh, that's one of the momentous dialogues she has.
Yeah. Haru says that.
Oh my god. Haru's crazy.
And she uses an axe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. There we go. Okay. No, you can't just kill your companions to make stronger ones. You have to keep them in your party to form a relationship. You need to make bonds. You can't just ditch them for power. But don't you do that in Pokemon anyway? Don't you get rid of them?
I don't think you kill your Pokemon.
Oh.
No.
You're encouraged to keep them, but
That
yeah,
would be
they usually
amazing.
they go into the
We
computer
can't
when you're
try
not using them.
execute you.
Well, yeah, but in Persona 5 you combine them, right? Or all the Persona games you combine them, so
Yes.
and you can always make
But
them.
you do it by guillotining them.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So bored. Yeah, this guy was pretty bad.
Oh god, someone posted the card.
Oh my goodness, to Sir Donald Trump, the two-faced bastard of
Oh yeah.
Bigotry.
bigotry. What?
Yes.
You are
This
arrogant
was yes.
and out of touch with the needs of the American people. Really, your campaign of greed and hate. Really, which one was that? Makes you unfit to lead a nation. It's arguable whether a president leads a nation or just the military.
What I like about unfit there is this person is. I mean, a lot of these, right? You can see like Trump there, Donald. A lot of this came from like magazines, the way that you would actually do it.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at unfit and some of the other ones, they clearly just like typed it into Word.
Couldn't find it.
Because I mean, look, unfit is just an Arial. Bastard is in papyrus.
But this is like, thus we have decided to make you confess all your crimes and expose this the coward beneath
Coward.
all that orange
All that orange.
from the phantom. Like, what is this nonsense?
That's
What?
so
Is
cringe.
somebody wrote
Somebody
in
wrote
earnest.
beyond the orange. That's so
Somebody
funny.
in earnest wrote a calling card to Donald Trump.
Somebody thought this sounded cool.
Oh yeah, somebody was like, "Oh, this will show him."
Donald Trump is gonna be so scared when I say that we're gonna expose everything that's under his orange.
His crimes? His crimes of what? Of having a bad university idea that didn't work out? His
I don't
failed.
know. That one made me laugh when people act like Trump University was like a real, pretended to be a real college, and like the scam around it was that it was not, it was a scam college. It's like it was advertised and run as a real estate sales seminar.
Yeah.
That's what Trump University was. Now, I think the reason there was a suit was that in the state of New York, you can't use the word university without a certain level of accreditation. So that was where the issue came in. But it's not like it pretended to be a college, right? It was a sales seminar, and that's all it was ever supposed to be. And I always got a kick out of how up in arms people got over
Well,
it.
yeah. If you ever listen to Sam Harris, it's like the worst thing in the world. So.
Oh, yeah. Didn't Sam Harris... There was something about... Oh, what did he get in trouble for saying?
He was talking about. I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah,
He
was
said
comparing
something.
Biden's.
He said something about Muslims, I think.
Oh my God! Well, he's off Twitter now, but he said that he wouldn't care about who did what with Biden's laptop, whether there was like dead children in his basement. It's like it's his son's.
Oh yeah, he said something about dead children in the basement. He said he wouldn't care, but he cares about the Trump University.
Yeah, it's
That's something
bizarre
he said,
how
yeah.
such intelligent people can get obsessed with one thing which is so unrelated to the topic at hand, but because you don't like some person's history of business proposals, like apparently, like Trump steaks or whatever the hell it was. He's a morally repugnant fellow. It's like that's fine. I think most of the leaders in presidents at least aren't exactly the most ethically minded fellows. They are designed to be the leaders of a military. Their job is to destroy other people or enemies of the state, which means a lot of sleepless nights of bombing people in the middle of the night in other parts of the world. So that's why you hire them. You hire presidents to kill, whether you like it or not, and whether they tell you the stories of what they've done over the years. But yes, they are also the representatives of a country. So they like to vote their conscience, I guess. They like to have, Obama's such a clean guy. He's very smart and nice, but then he started bombing the shit out of everyone with drones. So who knows?
But he looked so handsome.
He's so articulate. He's so smart.
And he was black. That's very important.
Did
Sometimes
Joe
he
Biden
play-
literally call him articulate? Like,
Well,
Yeah,
But
but he also
sometimes
said that the
Obama
black
played
people
with the
that don't
meme,
vote
so
for
he
him
was
are black.
relatable to people.
he had
Yeah.
a BlackBerry. He was very hip. He went on talk shows, very friendly. Looked very good.
I
in a
just
suit.
remember that it's generally considered a big no-no to refer to black people as articulate. I think Joe Biden did that. So
My speechwriter is very good at their job. Anywho, geez, that was bad. I swear we covered this guy before. I swear
We
maybe
might
we
have.
did.
yeah.
Probably
I don't
didn't
know.
say much then either. That's why we don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, I'm going to probably not want to cover this guy ever again. He's that bad. So.
We cover we cover a lot of like ridiculous sludge
yeah.
persona takes. So this one was just kind of bleh.
Yeah, I demand a better persona YouTuber, personally. They got to be out there. Because
I mean,
the
there's
ones,
Fither.
Marsh is pretty good.
yeah, because the ones that we cover are always those stupid fetishists that talk about kanji and what have you.
Yeah. I just remember my first ever appearance was a sludge persona take. I think it was
I think that was my first
extra
appearance too.
credits.
It was extra credits.
Oh yeah, that's right. Nick, you were like on your phone the whole time, I think. Like barely coming in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm on my phone now. I think I just got it better set up.
Yeah. Yeah, you sound like you at least have a better phone. Or I think you were like driving or something. I don't know. This was like what? Has to have been almost 2 years ago.
That was the God of War one. That was the God of War one that I was like that.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
All right, guys.
I just remember that was my first appearance. It was that, and then I think my next one after that was was Batman v Superman.
Oh dear, what a horrible.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think that guy was pretty good. Like the Batman fan who was really articulate about Batman making Batman videos. I think I remember.
No, it wasn't Batman. It was who was it we covered? Was it Just Right?
Oh dear, about Batman?
No, maybe
Did he
not.
make a video? Was it a video about Man of Steel or Batman? I can't remember.
It was about, I think it was about the Batman versus Superman fight in Batman v Superman.
Probably, yeah. And
I
his
just, I
argument
can't
was,
remember. I don't remember if it was Just Right, if it was somebody
well,
else.
the guy that I can't remember his name, but he was talking about how Batman doesn't kill. That was his big thesis, and he was like, "All right, you know, if you're gonna do that, do it right." But we're not doing that nowadays because the Marvel or the DC universe is now all about dark and moody, and everything's got to be with Batman.
I just remember that one of his lines was that Batman didn't kill anyone in this scene or whatever it was, and he said that while he was showing the Batmobile like blowing up a truck with people in it.
Okay, well, we're going on pretty late.
Anyway, yeah.
Thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great one, and take her easy. Bye bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye.